have a long rest, you get that first clue that something is horrifically wrong. Part of it being that everything disappeared as that like wave of energy went over you guys. So there's a lot of different clues that you had, but I do think I want to say Chris Terran like recited the clue pretty quickly, kind of that recognition of what that hall really meant in hindsight. But one of the things I wanted to start with was kind of bringing back up those warnings you have from Asarak and kind of like readdressing those real quick. So overall, I don't know, can I force this to pop up again? Yeah, so overall, the first warning of Asarak, some of this you saw on the outside, some of this you would have seen on the first plaque at the like first time you walked into the grand staircase. That first plaque was just directly in front of you. But effectively, you guys were to come to realize that the enemy's oppose was outside of the tomb that showed you who was contradictory to one another, and then it showed you or kind of warned you that you were going to find. Damn, I don't have his name in front of me right now, but the flail snail would be separated, and on that outside portion, it was actually outside, kind of hidden by vines, so you couldn't yet see it. So that was one of those things. Was like the first clue to remind you, like this one of these is going to be hidden. In darkness it hides, don the masker be seen, was the clue for when Terran picked up the items from you have damn I should have reviewed the gods' names here. But you have the little bear thing in you. I can't think of what its name. Obalaka. Um and that was kind of like that one. Speak no truth to the doomed child was trying to warn you not to tell that like floating skull that it was dead, basically that its family was dead. It was kind of a warning that that skull could basically get pissed off at you. And then the last one was that you have to turn the keys on the inside. So you guys started to recognize that each of these lines had a particular meaning for this level. And once you had kind of accomplished those things, as well, kind of knowing already about the keys on these skeleton heads, you all were more or less confident you've accomplished everything on that first level. And then that brings us back down to the second level. And this is again where Terran recognized pretty quickly in hindsight that something had gone wrong, and the ring is a path to another tomb. When that wave came over you, again, I think it was Terran. It might have been you, Justin. I'm sorry if I'm mistaking that one. But the important thing is that one of you guys immediately like recited that line, if I remember correctly, and basically recognized like we walked into another tomb in that ring. That was a moment of kind of recognition. So you guys have kind of we're going to pick up basically after you guys walk back around the ring. I think you know the Dead of Horus Sunlight. I think we kind of went enough into the trap of those undead to kind of recognize that there might be a way to use the undead to actually open that door, but you guys also found a way to just lift it. So I think you kind of understand that one. And then I'm pretty sure it was Justin who was kind of curious, like, we've not seen anything about a jewel or a frog on the second level. And then you guys have tried different methods in Papa Zottel's tomb about how to bow as the dead got intoned. You don't necessarily know what that means or how effective any of those bows have been. But there's some certain level of like you kind of recognize that's something about Papa Zottel's tomb, and then you don't necessarily know Into Darkness Descend. So on the second level, I want to kind of stress like with the recollection of that first line being to recall you that you've walked into like another like mirror of this tomb. It also should kind of recall you guys that like there's 5 clues to this tomb, and you've kind of figured out maybe 1 or 2 of them, or rather maybe 2 or 3 of them now. So you kind of want to like perhaps like be looking a little bit more into this tomb on that level. And then with the third level that you've gone to, you now have a little better sense, like you said, Justin, about walk through the water with weapon in hand. That allows you to walk through that curtain of water without getting blasted by that wall of force or that wall of water. Slake your shadow at the font. Uh, Taryn already figured out if he uses that shadow to drink that liquid, there was something at the base of it. You guys figured out that the vulture is indeed the first step into the tomb of Ijin, and then you need to kind of figure out write the gods, the walls of history tell all. So you haven't necessarily accomplished anything on the third level, but you know what 3 of those 7 lines or 3 of those 6 lines mean. 4 of those 6 lines mean. Um, so with that, like that's kind of where I want to pick up basically with us back inside of the gravity ring. That's where I want to kind of pick up with us back inside of the gravity ring. You guys have basically walked back through. That wizard's corpse is back on the ground. And you guys can go about. What would you like to do next?
So the items that we had picked up from the wizard before we, I guess, went in the ring, those did not disappear, right?
You still have the wizard staff. Actually, I should also stress you now look a little bit more like a goat because you're holding it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe when you wake up, like your mouth is a little bit more defined, like your lips almost come out of your face like 2 or so inches. You've got a much longer kind of like almost goatee beard kind of growing down. Your features look more goat-like than you definitely look like a normal human yesterday.
Okay.
But yeah, the things that you picked up from the wizard you do have. Um, I tried to keep a pretty good track of what you picked up after you guys walked through that kind of point. As far as I remember, it was more or less the things that you picked up from Papa Zalto's room and kind of beyond that. I don't think you've recovered anything from the tomb that like slammed the gate down behind you. And I think that was the one that I think Ubalaka warned Taryn. Or wait, maybe no, that was the other god. I have to look at the actual notes. One of the gods warned you, like, this tomb doesn't match any of the 9 gods. So you guys had kind of a sense like this is the false one, and that was kind of like the trick of it, is it's like a false tomb, but like the ring also leads to another false tomb.
Yeah, I definitely misinterpreted the that clue. I thought the false tomb or the another tomb was just referring to that one.
And I think that's precisely why it's put there. Again, both Asarak is one of those things that, from a DM's perspective, like he's almost on that meta level of getting to fuck with you, because that level of planning is exactly the kind of things that he will do to you. Is tell you there's a false tomb, put a false tomb there, but actually talk about the fact that the ring leads to an entire copy of this tomb.
Right. So, I guess the first question, Taryn, is do we um should we, I guess, still leave that tomb alone? Maybe return and try again at uh, the tomb with the vats and the statue.
Yeah,
With the
Papasolos tube. I think we should go there. But I mean, we did notice some illusory walls. Maybe we should check this place as well. Just go over everything where we already been, just to see that we didn't miss anything.
So it was Mao who would have warned. I feel like Mao is in one of the sidekicks. I think Mao is the one that you've got in maybe Zeros. Oh wait, did Mao go into?
yes, it was with Jarek. He was with Jarek, and then after Jarek got disintegrated, I thought maybe Quinn had picked up the staff, but I could be wrong. It might have been Zeros.
I was thinking Quinn, but Quinn has the psychic ability right now, and I don't think that's Mao. I think was the invisible one.
Yeah, because Quinn got the Wongo, the Sioux monster.
And
Yeah,
Kiernos
yes.
hasn't picked any yet, so yeah, it must be Zeros then.
Yeah, that's why Kiranos went to pick up Papa Zotel. Nothing happened. And then Kiranos went to pick up Jin, and nothing happened. So when you're thinking about searching these walls in places that you've gone, do you actually want to like go back and search through that tomb that you know is not the real tomb? Or are you talking about like going back to the grand staircase and trying to search those walls? What are you thinking here?
I was thinking going back like to the grand staircase, checking over there, and then checking inside of Papasotel's tomb as well.
Gotcha. So moving through the grand staircase, let me get investigations from. Do both of you have it? Yes, both of you. So searching through the staircase, you guys are going to find. What is? Do I have that cut off so it doesn't have the stair downward? You guys are going to find most all of this seems pretty normal, and it's not until you actually like move beyond and start to search towards like the stairs that go down to the next level, to where you start to have that mycelial growth, that Kyranos is going to actually recognize like there's a change in the stonework and the grouting, almost a kind of magical covering at the top of the stairs. There is another hall that continues to lead on straight to the west before going downward to this next level in the grand staircase.
Huh, don't remember seeing that before.
So I don't think it actually changes anything how I reveal it there. But basically, to the left of where the zombies are, you find that wall at the top of the stairs.
Um, yeah, because I'm gonna check the check the wall. Probably check it for traps first. Make sure there's not any sort of any like yeah. I guess just yeah. Check it for traps.
Let me get a perception check from you. Looking over it doesn't seem to be trapped, and you're pretty sure if you just apply a little bit of pressure, you should be able to start to move this door.
Yeah, so not finding any traps, Kyrinos will do so.
Oh, I did not adjust this one. My bad. Give me 1 second. I feel like that's probably too big, but I'm about to adjust that down. It's basically you find about like a 8 or 10 foot hall, and after about 10 or so feet, it kind of opens up, and there's a fountain. That's just what does the actual fountain have? I feel like it is a face that's kind of like almost dribbling water out of its mouth. Um, yeah, it calls it a stone font. But I feel like at very least the face is going to be that screaming devil paint, that screaming devil face that you've seen over and over again. This humanoid face with horns, its mouth is just gaping wide open, and out of the darkness of its open mouth, you just see water kind of pouring out and over its beard as it drops down into this pool.
Does the water appear clear, cloudy? Are we able to see if there's anything other than the water itself within the um, font fountain?
When you look into the water, you're going to see as the water starts to slowly swirl around, and you'll start to see like a green haze kind of like picking up all around you as your attention and your focus kind of like almost eagle eye focus into the water, and you're going to lose like your peripheral vision to this haze and slowly start to kind of looking into the water. You'll start to see a picture, and after a while, as it kind of resolves, you can see I think you're going to start to see just let's see, give me 1 second here. Let me finish adjusting this, and then I'm going to continue the description.
Sure. Yep.
All right, my bad on that one. So yeah, as you stare into it, your peripherals are going to kind of like fade out as you focus into this like swirling water, and you're going to see just kind of like a slow, like kind of like rhythmic kind of like movement of this vision ahead of you, as you very quickly are going to recognize you're walking around in the halls of this place. You're actually going to start to recognize that there's like purple mycelial and pink growth in your view. And as you're like watching this, you can feel like kind of like a little bit of a bob to the left, a little bit of a bob to the right. Roll an insight check for me. I think that's enough to say you recognize that you are walking around with a creature right now. Something is alive walking on that third level of the dungeon just below you. You don't necessarily recognize what it is, but it seems to be kind of like marching down one of these hallways. Um, Not necessarily a hall that you guys have gone through, but you can still again like see the mycelial growth that kind of gives you that like connection that it is this third level of SRX dungeon.
Okay. And am I able to, given like from the kind of the like the angles or the images I'm seeing, I'm able to get any sort of sense of how big this creature is that I guess he's assuming that he's kind of like almost seeing through its eyes.
I think 10's enough to say when you ask with that specific, so I'll give you, yeah, when you start to try to like watch this and you watch as another like 6 or 12 seconds go by as this thing moves, you're starting to recognize that this creature's looking down on a lot of the points where there's torches on the wall, that this creature probably stands much closer to the ceiling than you do.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think Kyranos is going to continue to watch.
Roll a D30 for me. Just in roll 20. I think /R space 1D30.
I think D30 is one of those funky dice that GCC actually uses.
Yeah, when you actually look into like and you want like all of the weird dice, there's a lot of like odd dice that exist, but D30 is like what, say like it's the 8th dice that goes into like gaming sets. It's actually pretty common. Alrighty, my apologies. What was your actual question that I arrived at the D30? You asked, are you able to
no,
you're just gonna watch it for a while.
Yeah.
All right, so a little bit of time is going to pass by as it's walking down this like hallway that's about like 5 or 10 feet wide, and no, about 5 feet wide. You can almost like kind of sense the longer you're in this like focus through its eyes, you can almost like feel this thing like rubs up against the walls beside it as it's walking through this hall. And you'll see as it kind of like comes to an end of a hall, it kind of like turns off, and there's about like 10 or so feet before in front of it, it has a large door that's kind of, you can kind of see like signs that it slides up from the ground. And there's plenty of the pink and purple mycelial growth along this door. Bits of it still remain to show like some of the like kind of like damage of stone sliding in stone, but you almost grab a sense of like this door doesn't move often. The growth that is on it tells you that it definitely doesn't move daily. The creature seems to pause for a moment as it looks to this corner, and then it again turns like another 90 degrees to its right, basically now turning 180 degrees, and starting to walk backward. As it starts to walk backward back down this hall, you watch as it kind of progresses forward 20, maybe 40 feet down this hall until it comes to a room where there is a large pit in the ground. And at the bottom of the pit, I bet I'm looking for the reference so I can actually describe this for you. At the bottom of the pit, you can see probably about 15 feet wide, about 15 feet deep. You can see like about like a clay figure that just kind of stands motionless at the bottom of this pit. And you can kind of see like it's humanoid enough. But where you've seen some of these figures that are like made out of multiple creatures' flesh and whatnot, this very clearly kind of has that singular hue. It doesn't catch the light in the way like our skin almost is like slightly translucent as light hits it. This thing very clearly looks like essentially what is it, ceramic. And you can just kind of see it at the bottom of this pit, and the creature just kind of holds here for a moment. What are you thinking? Actually, you know what? While you think about that real quick, Taryn, as he walks into this room, and you see as Kyranos kind of looks into the water, and the water starts to swirl, what does Taryn do? Because you don't see anything else. You're just watching, basically. This water starts to swirl, and Kyranos stops moving.
I would probably call out to Karen. I was like, yeah, hey, Karen, you okay? What's going on?
Roll a persuasion for me. So I think that's enough that Kyranos, you start to hear, like almost at first a whisper, and then you start to actually pick up Taryn, and there's a moment where you like kind of recollect, like, I'm watching through this thing. And you hear Taryn's voice kind of calling to you. Still say like a little bit into watching this creature kind of like walk up and down that hall. But also not necessarily like, say like 15 or 30 seconds into watching from the view of this creature, you're kind of starting to hear his voice.
Gotcha. So I think he, at least at the beginning, he probably would have tried to he would have been keeping his focus on the water until kind of the part that you would describe as it reaches a ceramic thing. And as he starts to hear Taryn's voice, Kyranos might, maybe something in the back of his mind is telling him, like, I don't know, if I can see through this, maybe it's, some sort of like vague sense of, maybe this is dangerous and maybe I need to, not stay too long. So he's going to attempt to kind of like essentially like pull back away, pull his view back away from the water and almost to kind of like remove himself from whatever this vision is.
Gotcha. You've got keen mind. What is too long to you? I shouldn't even like completely haze you out of that. You're one of the few people who knows exactly how long you're kind of in this, even if your senses go like hazy in some senses. I don't think there's a reason to say that you wouldn't necessarily have a sense of how long. So when you bring up that as something that you're thinking of, how long do you think is too long?
So you said it's been about 30, 40 seconds. I would say after a minute, he would start to think like maybe this is not a good idea.
Roll an intelligence for me. Do you think after a minute, as in you're going to break it off at 1 minute? Or do you think after a minute, you're going to break it off at 59 seconds?
Just under a minute.
Just under a minute. Sounds good. So after a moment, watching this thing again, kind of like turn, you can start to like describe what you're watching to Taryn. Taryn, does that change your opinion of what's going on as he starts to describe, like, kind of this level of, I can see through the eyes of one of these tome guardians. It's walking on patrol in a room towards a door that doesn't seem to move, but has the pink and purple growth of mushrooms. And then it comes back, and there's a pit, and there's some sort of clay figure down at the bottom of the pit. When he starts to kind of describe that level of things, does that change your perspective, Taryn?
Not really. Everything's been dangerous so far. So take it easy with things. Like,
Gotcha. So when you kind of like release yourself and kind of like focusing on, I shouldn't hold this too long, releasing it, trying not to allow this thing to see through you. As you kind of let go, let me get an Arcana check from you. You can already feel when you make this decision to let go that creature was already starting to like claw back through. Had you held on much longer, you have a solid sense that creature was going to be well aware of you and it was going to be coming to fight and kill you.
Yeah, so Kyranos will give a little kind of almost like a little shudder as he kind of finally manages to kind of pull his head away and kind of give a nod of thanks to Terran, because he might have, if he hadn't heard his voice, he might have just stayed there way too long, and he'll relay kind of this sense that he's getting that much longer, and this thing might have turned to two-way vision kind of thing.
So you found a secret door off of the grand staircase. You found this scrying pool that gives you an ability to almost watch the guardians of this tomb. You have a solid sense of what this means, that perhaps somebody who belongs here is actually meant to be able to watch over the tomb from this point. As far as like us in a modern setting, this is like the security center. This is a nerve center where you can watch through all of the cameras in your ward. You can watch through all of the guardians in your ward. What are you guys thinking?
Kyranos is wondering, do we think there's just this one pool? Do we think there are other pools, or is there maybe perhaps someone who knows how to use this can actually decide what it wants to look through at a particular time? But for now, he wants to kind of, avoid the temptation and kind of back out of this secret room to avoid any temptation of looking into it again too soon.
Yeah, all right. That seems wise. Told me that could have gone wrong fast.
So move back towards the grand staircase. Does that mean then you want to like check back into the hall of Papa Zoltal?
Yeah, Terra would want that at least.
Yep, I think that's probably our next order of business.
All right, my bad. I haven't actually reset this room. I should have done that. That was a mistake on my part. So you guys already know kind of how to get past those zombies. You still don't necessarily have a way to create sunlight to get in here and use them to lift the door. But do you kind of just go through that same process, kill the zombies, lift up the door with the four of you working together, and kind of now you've done it twice, but time that jump through so everybody's kind of holding it up until the moment where you're not?
Yeah, Taryn, unless you have something to create actual daylight, I can just create like artificial light.
Yeah, no, I have no way to create actual daylight.
Yeah, so I think we would just kind of do the same thing we had done the last time.
So moving back into the hall, again, you can see now that the shield that has that like javelinier on it is whole again. There's no longer like kind of a massive split through it. From I feel like Terran was the one who destroyed it. You can see that all of these like large globes of glass or large glass globes filled with bones and like humanoid skeletons are all whole again, filled back up. You can see the gold adorned all across this chariot on the ground. This is walking back into the room before you guys came into it last time all over again. Do you have any thoughts on how you would like to approach this? And again, I think going back to the clues from Asarak, do you have any thoughts on what it means to, what was it, bow to the one intoned, bow to the god intoned?
Was it bow as the dead god intoned? And I thought we had also seen some writing in here that said Papa Zodal bows to no one or something to that effect.
I believe that is the inscription above the shield. And then the two outer figures of those four statues on the south side of this room are like cat people, like Khajiits. And then the bottom left one is like a like fully human kind of figure, and then the bottom right but inner one doesn't have like facial features or anything. That's the one who you are pretty sure is no one.
Right. Taryn, what do you think? Should I try what I tried in the other tomb, to the bow to the kind of featureless statue? Maybe try and do that, because I think the second time I tried like almost like a one-legged kind of like almost like how I think a creature like Papa Zodal would have bowed.
Yeah, I mean, we could try. It didn't work in the mirror tomb. It didn't do anything. But might just have been because it's the mirror tomb. Be fucking with us.
Yeah, so I think Kyranos will move in front of this statue and attempt that kind of almost like one-legged kind of bow or inclination of his head.
Give me one moment here. I feel like this is like one thing that is out of place. And I didn't mark it last time. But it's like the description of like what happens when you do this correctly. Okay. Gotcha. So you bow in front of the statue. Nothing happens. If you think you've done it correctly, what do you think would change? If you think you've done it incorrectly, what do you think would change?
So last time, I think before we had tried any of this, Taryn had kind of inadvertently touched some of the treasure lying around, and that sent the kind of the skeletons coming out of the vats, and we had to do that fight. If Kyranos, if he like did the bow correctly, he's thinking maybe that somehow disarmed whatever trap or thing would have gone off, kind of like similar to how after Taryn donned the mask and the other one, there wasn't like anything like immediately apparent after he donned the mask that he had, done the correct thing, but it whatever would have happened if he hadn't didn't happen.
When Taryn donned the mask, did you think that everybody was safe?
Oh no. Yeah, that's a
Perhaps
good point.
everybody should bow before no one.
Yeah, that's, I think, to be safe, that's, yeah, Uranos would suggest we, everyone kind of do that before we try to investigate any further.
So one after another, you have the four of you bow before the statue of no one.
Yeah, turns in with that, even if we'll feel a little bit silly doing the one-legged bow.
Nothing seems to happen, but it might get you a little closer to wondering, is it safe to touch the treasure now?
Suppose there's only one way to find out, Taryn.
All right. Tam will go to the sarcophagus and look at those. Say, "Are you ready?" Well then, here goes nothing, and he'll like take one
So,
of the points.
so you are preparing for what you expect to be attacked. What is everybody doing? Like Taryn, you might be a little bit kind of edgy on what this is going to be for you, but this is the type of thing where Kyrinos, are you preparing to release a spell the moment something happens? What is Quinn preparing, holding her action to do? Let's say we can put everybody but Taryn is holding an action here, and when and if something happens, we will start on, say, Taryn's initiative with like your free action spent. So, like, consider it like that. You're about to start combat. What's everybody doing? Kyrinos also keep in mind, if you've done this successfully, if you use like your highest level spell slot and nothing happens, your highest level spell slot's going to be expended for nothing. So if you guys are readying your actions to fight, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, so I think Kyrinos is, he thinks he's done it correctly, but he's not 100% sure. Um, so he is going to hold a second level Agonazar Scorcher. And if, what happened last time, if like the skeletons seem to start animating out of these vats, he is going to launch it south of him, trying to hit these two in the right side of the room.
I don't see any reason that you couldn't go up and above that one and hit all three if you wanted to do that.
Oh, like stand like kind of in this. I wasn't sure if there was enough room to do that.
Yeah. I mean, again, like these are more just like depictions artistically. Um, maybe it's a little rough, but you just have to like cover part of it. It's essentially, what is that? A large creature kind of size wise. You could be one space over and still hit all three, as far as I'm concerned.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So he would then do that. Yeah. Zeros. Um, I think he's just holding Eldritch Blast. Towards probably the one right next to Kyrinos, like the one that he's standing near. He would be readying to fire at that.
Gotcha. This takes me back to, he's got limited abilities. Do you want to have him hold a limited ability, or are you sticking to the idea that nothing might happen? You don't want to waste it. And also keep in mind, like last time you guys fought this, there were two things that were dangerous about it. There was a shitload of skeletons. Those things keep making skeletons, and also that figure in the center from the shield was dealing horrific amounts of damage.
Right. Um, Maybe in that case, he's going to hold. I mean, he's got. I mean, the black tentacles would be useful to restrain creatures, but it could still only
Black Tentacles doesn't do a little bit of damage. Oh yeah, it does 3d6. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. So and he can cast it 3 times a day. I think it's worth given how the fight was tough last time. Yeah, so he's gonna hold it for he'll hold ready to cast Evard's Black Tentacles, basically in this radius down here. Yeah, in like the
I
southeast
think that might
corner
be
of the room.
sized right.
20 foot square or 20 foot radius. It's sort of sphere, but yeah, for all intents and purposes. Yeah, so he'll hold the casting there.
Gotcha. And then for Taryn and Quinn, what kind of actions are you holding?
Well, Quinn is gonna smash the bat to the south of her. Start with if skeletons are gonna form again.
Gotcha. So she's just going to do 2 attacks to that vat. And then what are you thinking with Taryn? This is one of the things I'm taking your free action because you are going to kind of manipulate some of the gold here. But that doesn't necessarily really remove you from being able to do something. So you could still, it's more, yeah, what could your reaction even be? It's kind of hard for you to say because you'll be on your turn theoretically. Yeah, so I don't think you would necessarily have a reaction. We'll just start with you like on your free action. So if that sounds good to you all, Taryn, would you like to touch a piece of gold?
I would.
All right. So first off, skeletons are going to immediately spawn around you guys. So it is going to proc almost all of your reactions right away. Where we can expend the Evards, we can expend the Agonizing Scorcher as you guys shoot those down the line. Did I ever give you a line spell that you could drop the Scorcher? Because there's going to be skeletons in the way of it anyways.
You may have. I don't see one.
Yeah, I don't see one here either. Let's see.
Yeah, 5 feet wide, 30 feet long. Oh, so he'd still only be able to get 2 of them.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. It's to have you like in the corner like that. And then just draw through 3 skeletons and all 3 of the chambers.
So I actually don't think it will reach the bottom chamber.
Oh, what's the distance on it?
It's only a 30-foot long, so it'll hit the first 2 and all 3 skeletons, but not the most southern vat.
Gotcha. So do you want to change how you were thinking about that and maybe just hit those bottom 2 vats? So you stack everything with Zeros?
Yeah, I was thinking 6 foot long for some reason. So
I was
think he
thinking with
would.
like
Yeah, he
lightning
would.
bolts as well.
Yeah, so I think
I
he would
thought
have
for
been
some
more.
reason it was the fire version of lightning bolt.
Yeah, so I think he would have almost been like here instead.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I mean, if you moved back the 1 space anyways, I'm just going to put the skeleton to the left of you because it's basically as close as possible to that like side. So yeah, when you do that, you can hit 2 skeletons, 2 of the vats. Let's see. I mean, I don't think the skeletons that get hit by Evards and that Evards isn't save or suck, right? It's half damage.
I believe so. Yeah, let me pull it up.
Oh, I'm bringing it up. It is weird sometimes when it doesn't actually say like everything to you. Must succeed on a dexterity save or take that. Yeah, so it's save or suck. But I think it's restrained. Oh yeah, it takes extra stuff if it starts its turn there anyways. So that's kind of what it is. It does more damage. It's just that first damage doesn't necessarily affect it right away. So yeah, I have a feeling the skeletons that get hit by both can't survive. So we're just gonna write those two off right now. 18 damage from agonizers, and those things can take. Yeah, so you'll see each of those. Yeah, between Evard's and your blast, guaranteed to be destroyed. He needs to roll 4 on 3d6 to destroy them. So we're just gonna just say. Oh, is and I have to roll for these.
But actually, it won't automatically take any damage from Evard's. It gets a saving throw first on it because there's no damage until its turn.
Oh, and it says and is already restrained. Okay.
Yeah, so if it's when it starts its turn, so at the start of its turn, it makes a dexterity saving throw. If it fails, then it will take that 3d6 and basically be destroyed. If it's not, it's essentially it's free to move and nothing happens to it. And then if it gets restrained that first turn, not that it's going to make a difference for these things, but every subsequent turn, it would then take another 3d6.
All right, so his DC should be 18 now because he should have a plus. Oh wait, no, that's your DC. What is the DC from the sidekicks? I feel like it's 13, so maybe it's 15 now. So the first and the fourth skeleton are going to pass that. So it's actually those other two. That works out fine though. It goes along that line of those guys are dead. Dead. The two against yours would take half damage. So I do need to test because if they take half damage, the Evards would not. Yeah, those two would. Yeah, okay. So that line gets cleared out by those reactions. You destroy 2 skeletons and 2 of the glass globes. Let me get a attack from Quinn against the bottom. 21 will hit. She only gets 1 attack on this though. It's your reaction, so it's
right.
going to do 13 damage. No, that's part of what the weird thing was. Is it's like not just actions. All right. So I think that's the reactions. My apologies. I probably could have brought up the initiative thing already ahead of time. But that will put us here where you guys can roll for initiative. So 20 and 6 is what matters. So we've got 8, 12, 10, and 17. All right, Taryn. So we're starting on your initiative. So the moment you touch this piece of gold, you guys are going to watch as these things start spewing out all of these bones again. And as they crash down onto the ground, you start to see them animating up into full figure humanoids and already starting to draw their bows back. Some of them are starting to slash their swords forward as you watch your friends start to light up one side of the room with magic, and you see Quinn kind of crashing through, almost like halfway breaking through the glass below her. That one is already well destroyed. That's like south of her. What would Terran like to do with your turn?
Well, remembering the shield and how that worked, he's gonna run over to it and try to like destroy the shield before it can get off any force spears.
Gotcha. Make your attacks. And we're gonna go to. Not gonna lie, shield's not gonna do anything. Bowing to no one makes the shield ignore all of you guys. So all of your attacks right here, they're just wasted. 6 skeletons are going to attack you all. I'm just gonna roll for who gets 2. So Kyranos and Zeros are gonna get attacked by 2. Everybody else is gonna get 1. Yeah. So let's see. Kyranos, 2 of them with swords. Zeros, 2 with bows. I think that kind of fits. And then probably a bow at Quinn and Taryn. So we're doing Kyranos. What is that? 10 is far below. 17 hit you?
17 will hit. Yeah.
Does 15 hit Zeros?
Yep. They both got pretty low AC. I think they're both 13.
Gotcha. And then Taryn and Quinn. 18 hit Taryn. Does 17, I almost know Mrs. Quinn.
Yeah, no, Quinn has 18 and I have 17.
Gotcha. So we're gonna do. I think I got a hit on everyone but Quinn. 2 of them on Zeros. So we're just gonna do this as the damage for all of these. Not gonna do it like that. So I shouldn't have even said it because I knew as soon as I said it, it was gonna be a 6. So on Kyranos, 8 damage from the arrow. Zeros needs to save 2 con saves, DC 8, and then Taryn, you can take that 4.
So Zeros should pass both.
Yep. Zeros is good there, and then it's going to go to Kyranos.
Okay, so Kyranos is going to turn and, having kind of destroyed these 2 vats, he's going to turn and launch Unleash Burning Hands in the other direction. Should be able to get, I think, both of the skeletons above him and the vat with that 15-foot cone.
100%. Yep.
And he is going to do this at, well, he's already used the. No, but he'll do it at 2nd level.
So both skeletons will take some, but kind of avoid much of the damage.
And then I don't know if those vats are flammable, but from what it would mean, but technically it would ignite anything flammable that's not being worn or carried.
I don't think so. They're basically glass. I feel like maybe you call them like bronze bottom, but I think overall most of this room, I would say, is essentially non-flammable.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Zeros is going to move to try to make some distance from the one skeleton that's right on top of him.
Gotcha. It's gonna slash out at him and crit. So I need you to make a DC 10 save. Actually, it wouldn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. He'll take 2 wounds from that.
Okay, and he is going to Eldritch Blast into the vat. This the intact vat on the right side.
Gotcha. The one that you just hit with the burning hands.
Yeah.
I think you're looking for DC 15 to hit. Just going to destroy it on that crit.
All right, and that is all for Zeros. Oh, I need a concentration check on the. I need 3, I guess, actually.
Okay, that's what the blue dot was.
Yep. So if Ards fades on that second, he would have faded on that second skeleton strike, or whichever his second hit he took. Yeah.
Oh shit, I should have created more skeletons too. Which ones were on 12? Yeah, then those 2 were destroyed. So yeah, that looks right. My bad. So gonna catch these up and do 2 attacks on Quinn, 2 attacks on Terran, 1 attack on Zeros, and 1 on Kyranos. So just going down the line, Kyranos, Terran. Damn, that wasn't supposed to be Terran. That was supposed to be Zeros. Terran, Quinn. So let me get a con 5 from Zeros. Terran, I hit you with that 17, so you'll take 5 damage. And then Quinn will get hit with the 21, and she needs I think she's basically a con not 1. It's a con 5 save. She just needs to not roll a 1. All right. So another wound from Zeros. Keep in mind as you roll nat 1s, that was a potential chance to get another inspiration. And I think you've already rolled 2 nat 1s. So keep in mind, like, that's one of those things, like, use your inspiration so you can regain them. And then that's going to go back up to the top of the order, back to Terran.
All right. He's just gonna rush over to line of skeletons to the west. Not disengaging. So he's gonna take that.
Big ol' miss.
And yeah, then let's see. The first one directed to his left, or west. He's gonna attack first.
Gotcha. Are you about to? Oh wait, before you actually attack, I want you to declare your attacks for me. What are you attacking? You doing like 2 on each skeleton? Do you want to do like 1 on the first skeleton, 2 on the next, 1 on the last? What are you thinking?
I'm getting confused, but I was thinking like 1 attack on the. Because I only have 2 attacks, right? Am I?
Oh yeah, my bad. No, we have it reworded. Yeah, you just get to use your bonus action for free. That's what it is. So it is still 2 attacks. Do you want to do both attacks on 1 skeleton? Or do you want to apply like 1 to 1 skeleton and the next to another?
I was gonna do like 1 to the one directly west of me, then 1 to the one above it.
All right, gotcha. So that first one is going to miss, and then make an attack on the second one. That one will hit and kill.
Yeah, and then Quinn is gonna keep on wailing on the vat to her south.
She will destroy it on that go about. All right, so I think I'm here now at this is the person who gets 1 attack. And it's going to be Zeros. Oh wait, no, that should be Quinn. So we've got 2 attacks on Kyranos, 2 attacks on Zeros, 2 attacks on Terran, and then wait, damn it. 2 attacks on Terran, and then 1 on Quinn. So 1 attack hits Zeros, DC 5 save for him. 1 attack will hit Terran, and that's going to be for 7 damage. I don't know. The big thing with movement right here is I'm closing in, so everybody at least has somebody touching them. I'm not necessarily trying to worry too much. It's just enough that, like, for the casters, you can move to clear yourself, but you're still getting moved into. I think maybe that's the answer there.
And sorry, what did you say the save was for Kyranos or for Zero?
5.
Okay, he passed that one. Okay.
Yeah, skeletons are very weak enemies. The whole reason these are a danger is purely their numbers. But it's going to go back to Kyranos. You've got 4 of the vats across this room are destroyed. Oh wait, I should have created more vats there. More creatures. I think just 1 more skeleton. So I'm going to do 1 more attack on Quinn. Still misses. So 2 of these vats are still creating skeletons. There's clearly a mob of skeletons filling the room, but this is one of those things where you're like getting to the point where you've neutralized their ability to spawn. What are you thinking about here?
Yeah. He'd like to get over to try and destroy those other 2 bats, but I don't think he can make it.
So what about, have you thought about using a fireball? You did this previously to a great effect. You could probably destroy those last 2 vats and take out 3 to 4 skeletons.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I think I'd have to hit. Oh, I guess I could do it like that, right? Or do I have to center it like?
No, you start from the point. The point that it's centered on is all that matters.
Okay, so yeah, I think I would center it there.
So roll the damage for me, and then the 4 skeletons.
I don't know. For some reason, I was thinking like the whole thing had to be like within the thing, and I thought I would hit too many friends.
22 is the exact number you need to hit the vats, to destroy the vats. They've got 22 hit points. So you will smash the final 2 vats. One of the skeletons is going to survive. One of them actually saves against your DC. All the rest are going to get wiped out of those 3. So what would you like to do with Zeros? He still has the 1 skeleton that moved into him. You can step away again in the same way, drop some more Eldritch Blasts, or you could do, whatever you care for at this point. One of the skeletons that got hit by that blast is probably pretty evidently, like half of its torso, say, is kind of like missing from the explosion. It couldn't resist like the blast force.
Yeah,
Did
so
I
Zero.
move the skeleton that Terran attacked? I feel like the skeleton that's northwest of Terran should have been dead.
Oh, but was there one you summoned in? I thought that was where you put the new one.
Oh, is that what I did? That's where I placed it? That would make sense.
Yeah, so Zeros will attempt to get some range.
I think a 12 is a miss as it kind of slashes out in.
Yeah, and then I'm going to launch the first blast at the. Actually, no. I'm going to cast the first one with advantage. I'm gonna. Oh, can he? No, he can't use inspiration, right?
I mean, that's kind of the weird thought. I'm not necessarily opposed to it if you want to use advantage on him versus yourself.
Just go because no. So he'll just no. I'll just do. So the first attack will be at the wounded one, and then the second at the one nearest him to his right.
Gotcha. In the future, I want to say, like, hard answer, yes, you can use it because I'll give you advantage. I'll give you inspiration anytime they roll a 1, so there's no reason to say that they can't use it. It's you rolling that gets the inspiration.
Okay.
Sorry. Because what you were thinking was to do advantage on the first one against the one you just stepped away from, and then attacking the other one with the second shot.
Yeah.
I'm killing that first one that's next to you with the advantage, and I'm giving you inspiration again, because that is precisely why I want you guys to use inspiration. I can't but laugh because it was very clear that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I should have stuck with that. Okay. Thanks.
I mean, that's one of those things. Like when I played Warhammer, like that's when we created the idea the dice never lie because you can't bullshit games that are designed around dice. The likelihood of how everything plays out, that is the perfect situation of exactly why. Just stick with what you're thinking. So yeah, you could use that inspiration. You'll gain it right back as you destroy the one that closed in on you on combat, and then as you turn to the weakened one, it's just a huge whiff, and it just goes past by and like smashes into that column there.
Yep. And that will be all for Zeros.
So I think I've got 2 here. One of them is actually in contact with Keranos. So this is just to see who is the other recipient of this other one's going to shoot an arrow at. 4 is 2, should be, what's that, Terran. So 1 at Keranos, miss, 1 at Terran, miss, and it's going to go back to you, Terran. I think this kind of gets back to the point where, yeah, let's actually play out Terran's turn because you guys can probably deal a lot of damage, but this combat's over as far as I'm concerned here.
Yeah, Terran's gonna do the same thing, but just because I have inspiration, I'm gonna use it as well. 1.
Gotcha. Inspiration, first one, second attack on the next one. So the second one's going to do 7 damage. That's going to leave that one kind of like mortally wounded as you just kind of like smash through the first skeleton and the bones just kind of like fall into ash. And as you kind of like spin around to do a knife into the next one next to Quinn, you like crack through the rib cage, but you can see like even with the like caved in rib cage, most of the skeleton's ability to stand is still there. This is one of those things that with Quinn, I would almost advise you make an attack at that skeleton that's full and take the opportunity attacks for her to move to something that is not injured, because pretty much if she hits something, she kills it. She doesn't need these things to be injured, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, that makes sense. She hits hard when she hits. So yeah, I'm gonna attack the full health one.
And then like move across to the one that's like way to the east of Terran.
Yeah. That seems like, yeah, that seems
Alright. She'll get hit by both of those skeletons, though. You get inspiration. Oh, wait, no, never mind. That roll doesn't count. Normally, though, that would have almost been there. So, yeah, she hits with the first one. She's going to hit with the second one. And, of course, Her damage is not enough to kill either.
Of course, but she's still gonna move because Terran should be able to mop up those ones without any problems.
God, that is horrifically low damage. How is that possible? A 2 and a 3? And a 3 and a 6?
Yeah,
Wait, but this isn't adding her strength modifier. That should be a 10 and a 14. You see what I mean? It's doing the 2d8. The +1 is because she now has the magical weapon from Jarek. But it's not doing her strength modifier.
weird.
All right, so she'll leave the first one wounded. Again, kind of like cutting through like the collarbone, just like an entire side of like ribs and arm falls off of that skeleton. The other two are going to hit her as she crosses back to like cut down the other skeleton that was like shooting Terran in the back. But I need you to make 2 con saves at DC 5. Basically, again, for her, it's just don't roll a 1. And then this is going to go to 3 skeletons here. 1 is touching Kyranos, so we're going auto on Kyranos. And then these 2 for their targets is going to be what is that? Terran and Quinn again. So Kyranos, Terran, Quinn. So all of those miss, and it's going to go back to you, Kyranos. This is at the point where, again, I feel like you guys are just mopping up here, and we're just wasting time. So you've got 2 more here, but let's just like kill this off as you guys, maybe like firebolt into one of these skeletons. You have Zeros like dropping some Eldritch Blasts into the weakened ones, but you guys can kind of mop up the rest of this combat here. What are you thinking as you've destroyed all of these vats? You seem to figure out at least what happens with the shield. It never attacked you during that combat. Even after like Terran kind of like stabbed into it those first few times, the shield never animated in the same way as it did the first time, where you actually saw that figure kind of moving and acting within the like 2D scope. So what are you guys thinking here?
So Kyranos is thinking maybe the bow did actually accomplish something. Maybe there was some part that we missed that might have prevented the skeletons from animating as well, but really didn't think of it. Yeah, I guess at this point, go and is there anything else we did before we, at that point last time, tried to basically open up the sarcophagus?
Not really. I think we just tried bowing to the faceless one a couple of times. Nothing else.
Yeah, I think last time we didn't do that until after the battle.
I think we bowed before the first battle. We just like only Kyranos did it, and then Tyron was the one who started everything again.
If I recall correctly, I think you guys did not actually do that until afterwards.
Oh,
Yeah,
was it afterwards?
I feel like you guys had destroyed the shield before you ever actually tried.
Yeah, because I think Taryn had, because he like inadvertently hit some of the gold, which set the whole thing off, and then after that, oh right, because then we opened the sarcophagus when nothing happened when Kyranos touched it. Then he thought, oh, maybe that we need to bow to make it like activate or something. So we were completely off.
I fucked up. I just saw the line that I was looking for that whole time. They have two separate lines to tell you that bowing doesn't cause these things to happen. I'm gonna underline them this time so I can see it next time I ever run this. Skeleton should not have spawned. You guys should have all of your abilities and all of your hit points back. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I really knew that I had seen that this shit completely stops it, but I wanted to confirm it. And I could find the line where the shield says, if you bow before him. And that's why I was saying, like, hold on a minute, let me look for this. I feel like there was something tricky about it. And the moment you guys are talking about this and I'm looking over it again, my eyes went directly to the one on the VATS where it says the exact same thing.
I'm surprised they don't just put those two like right next to each other.
It's super annoying. This is the one, like in the Oblazaka, it was like very clearly put at that tomb, like how you kind of like deactivate the danger. Not all of them, like you can just bypass the danger. Like, the one where Jarek died, that's straight up extremely dangerous. Somebody basically risks dying to get into that one. But some of them, like this one, you can entirely avoid it. But that's my bad, guys. That's wasted time. I feel bad about that.
No, it's I always enjoy a good fight. But do you want us to actually like reset abilities and all that, or just kind of continue on?
I
as
would rather
already
if you
happened?
do.
Okay.
It serves no purpose in the long run. Again, that's just my mistake.
Yeah. Well, easy enough. Yeah. So I think Kiranos will kind of move and probably ask for Terran's help. I think some of these sarcophagi have been pretty heavy, but try to attempt to open up the lid.
Yeah, Terran would help with that.
So again, when you guys remove this lid, like there's a pile of gold all around the actual sarcophagus. You have to clean some of it off of the actual sarcophagus. But eventually, when you kind of get to it, you'll see like the actual stone lid has Papa Zoltal standing on the like single foot, kind of in this like meditative karate stance kind of thing. Moving the lid off, you will see inside a small, like brittle skull bone of a bird-like creature with this massive long beak. And then I think it is the amulet that is within. Yeah, it is a. I think I described this one as the amulet that actually shows like almost like two birds like kind of rotating around each other, almost like they're kind of like a yin yang stance. Again, like the kind of spirit, like bird shadow that's in this room, almost kind of gives you a kind of feel of it. How like some wings are coming out down into the left, another set of wings kind of coming up into the right, and then like at that little like dot point is like one head, and then on the opposite side is the other head. But there's that golden necklace inside.
Yeah, so I think Kiranos he'll kind of look to Terran and like nothing happened last time, but hopefully, and he's going to reach out and pick up the amulet.
So as Kiranos picks up the amulet, you'll see this is why the shadows are like put across this map as is. You'll see as like a swirl of like darkness kind of like spins around the room, and you'll see as these massive like shadowy wings kind of like flap to, And as it kind of like almost flies like from this massive creature down into like a small like 5 or so foot wingspan, and like brings its wings in together and in towards your heart. And you'll kind of see as this like shadow just kind of like sinks into Kyranos, and you hear inside of your head, Kyranos, you will do as I command.
And if I refuse,
Who are you to refuse the power of a god?
I have no objection to working together, but I have a some would say an instinctive mistrust of authority. Your greeting simply uh, took me off guard.
We will not take any commands from others. It is not our way. You may be our physical manifestation, and I will aid you. But you will obey my command. For with two rulers, one still must stand higher than the first, or than the other. But you've got the card there. You can see how the actual like flaw kind of manifests in you. That you'll bow before my command is essentially the same ideas. Papa Zoto will not be below anyone else. The difference is it goes down to you as well. You are basically second among none other than Papa Zoto.
Gotcha. So yeah, so Kyranos will kind of he'll turn towards Taryn uh, as this happened, and recall finding that cloak pin that caught my fancy before. See if you can find it in that and all that.
Sure. Okay, I do then. Chad will start looking, just see if he finds it.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's plenty of things that are really nice in this pile. The cloak pin is among some of the more minor gold objects here. But yeah, if you're just looking for one of the cloak pins, you can certainly pick up another cloak pin. There's 5 of them there. I'd say again, like go for the kind of motif that it's like a flying iblis, and you can kind of see like almost like behind the legs is where the pin kind of like crosses back up towards the face. So it almost has like this long outstretched bird, like right to left, and its wings kind of like come down. It's almost like I think they're swept wings, so it actually kind of arches forward and down um, in this pin. Um, if you wanted different styles, you could describe to me one of the other pins that looks different, but essentially I would say all of them should be Iblis motifs. Do you guys
Yeah.
want to
Sorry. Go ahead.
do you guys want to take any of the other treasures here? Because there's again plenty of treasure here.
Yeah, Charon will hand over the pin he found, and well, at the same time, he'll start pocketing some of like the more regular gold and things that he can fit easily.
Gotcha. Are you thinking just to take some coins here, or are you thinking like I want to grab some valuable stuff?
I'm thinking I'm gonna grab some valuable stuff because
Gotcha. Roll an investigation for me. The pins are among some of the smallest things that probably have the highest value, but they're only 25 gold. The most valuable thing that you find is a torque, which is like a tension spun bracelet. And that one is probably worth 200 to 300 gold. And then there are 3 cups that are all probably worth like 70 or 80 gold. A little bit larger, but they maintain a little bit higher value. And then other than that, there's probably about 200 or so coins here. But the coins are probably the least amount of value per like the weight because there's nothing like artistic about them. It is only the value of the coin.
Yeah, I would say we don't want to get too bogged down. Grab the torque and the cups, the pins, and
So the gold torque is worth 250 gold. There's 3 golden cups. They're all worth 75 gold. And there are 5 gold pins, one of which, Kyranos, you've already taken. So you can write down any amount of that treasure that you'd like here.
yeah, and Kyranos will kind of fix one of the pins, kind of like as an actual cloak pin, and then just kind of like bag the rest, or if Taryn wants one, obviously.
I would probably try to take the torque if nothing else. That seems nice.
Yeah, I'd say the torque probably has among like the highest kind of weight of any of these things because it is like a lot of small strands of gold. They're like spun with tension. So I'd say, I mean, I don't even think you can record less than a pound, but that's one of those weird things. Like it's probably about like a half pound or a pound of gold, but it's worth far more.
Yeah. How much was it worth again? Because I wouldn't buy pretty fast.
250 gold.
250. Okay. Thank you.
And for the sake of how things play out, Kyranos, the amulet of Papa Zotel is an amulet of health. I would say you are not yet attuned to. I'm going to say you are immediately attuned to it because you got the god from it. So you can add an amulet of health to yourself here. If and when you run out of attunement spaces, the god will always trump anything else. Like you are forced to be attuned to these things that have a god inside of you.
Okay, I think for now I'm good on attunement slot. And it looks like it automatically updated the hit points.
Excellent. So yeah, you guys have already seen the difference between what has happened in the previous days and where you are at this day. You are still kind of searching through this dungeon. You've found one secret compartment in this place. What other thoughts do you all have as you move forward? Is this an ideal place? Should we take a break while you guys... Oh, my bad, Chris. What were you thinking?
I was just thinking that Taryn would want to check out the Abyssal Tomb more, just to check for any more hidden rooms and things like that.
Gotcha.
Go over the wall.
Let me get perception check from you, from both of you. Gotcha. So looking through the room, you can see maybe some of the. Oh wait, we're gonna like kind of narratively remove that. So let's go for kind of looking over the room, you can spot a point along kind of the northeastern side of the wall where there seems to be another of these areas that there seems to be like a difference in like the grouting, and potentially with a little bit of a push you should be able to open a door between that top right and the top or and the middle right of the uh, glass enclosures.
Yeah, Kyrnos
Some
will. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you like to check for traps, or do you want to just kind of push open the door when you find it, Kyrnos?
I think he will check for traps, given where we are.
Gotcha. Roll a investigation for me. So once again, kind of looking over this, there doesn't seem anything trapped about this. It feels safe enough that you're pretty comfortable to push in and open up this door.
All right, then he will do so.
So as you kind of push forward, the door kind of goes like 3 or so inches in before you kind of hear a click, and then you start to kind of push it to the side, and it starts to like slide into this wall, and you immediately start to see like this whole hall is filled with cobwebs. It doesn't seem like anything has come through this in some ages, but you can see that there's about 20 or so feet in front of you. And then there's some sort of like red glowing object that's about 15 or so feet in front, but to the right. I don't even know why I put Fog of War on this map. I remember.
So I'm only, I see it like on my screen, like a very small rectangle. Is that intentional?
Yeah, my bad. As soon as I said I don't remember why I put Fog of War on this map.
Oh, okay, I zoomed in now. Okay, gotcha.
So you guys can see like this like webbed hallway that's in front of you. And you can see like this glow of this like red like pink object. Think once you got maybe a little closer, you could see maybe it's sitting on top of like a like cushion or like a kind of like circular couch.
Yes, Kyrnos will move towards it. So the cobwebs, they're thick, but I assume they don't make the impassable.
Yeah, this is pretty typical. Like, if you wanted, you could probably take a torch and like just blaze this room out real quick. It'll like burn up all of the oxygen. You'll need to take some time to like let oxygen get back into it. Or yeah, you could just kind of take a staff and just as easily like kind of pick them up. And again, pretty quick observation. These are tiny webs. This is, I think, one of the weirdest part about this game is like recognizing sometimes like a web is probably say like a centimeter thick versus sometimes a web is like microscopic, like a normal spider. These are normal spider webs.
Gotcha. But I feel like Kyrnos, given how they found him, might have a bit of a spider, bit of arachnophobia after being cocooned up. So maybe he probably would actually just burn take the time to take a torch, burn them, wait for the kind of the air to flow back in, and then head in.
Gotcha. In the time that you guys are actually waiting back inside of Papa Zoto's tomb, while oxygen kind of flows back into this room, I'm gonna go ahead and have the skeleton from this level walk in with that metal apparatus on its head. Kind of same thing as before. As soon as it kind of spots you guys, it's going to You know what? I'm actually going to have it walk in from the opposite side of this hall. It is going to walk out of this room. You guys were in this room. There was nothing in here. You burn it, and you guys like walk back into Papa Zolto's room, and all of a sudden, this skeleton's going to walk out of this hall. And it is basically trapped between you and what you would expect is nowhere. It runs back into this room. I think for what it's worth, Terran will always be able to run it down. You can kill that skeleton with no effort, but this skeleton was fleeing into this room with somewhere to go, and it came from somewhere. But where? You guys will have to figure out.
Yeah, Terran would have chased after it immediately as it started running.
And I think the second skeleton, I think the first one was square. I think the second one is triangular. But regardless, just kind of keep track. You guys have like the first and second level now. Because last time you got the second level when it would have disappeared.
Yeah, the
Right.
first one was the triangle. Yeah, the second one is the square now.
Yeah, I just don't know that I'm actually saying that correctly. So at some point, we're probably just going to have to settle on like which levels that we know you got it from.
Okay. Well, I'm like skeleton key 1 and 2 and things.
Yeah, precisely. That's exactly why I mean it like that. Sometimes I need the extra assistance to make it easier to cover the mistakes of not necessarily knowing and assuming sometimes. So yeah, once you actually go back in there and the webs are cleared, you might see like some charred damage done to like this cushion, set inside of the cushion, like on the top center of it. There's like a large glass object that's kind of like thinner at the top. It almost looks like a little bit of a decanter that you would put like alcohol in, and it kind of like has this like almost flowing kind of like hourglass shape where it kind of curves outward a little bit, curves back in, and then it curves out with a very bulbous base, and then kind of comes back around. But essentially, kind of shaped like that. You know what I mean? Where it's got like two larger sections, kind of narrows back down again, and then opens back up. But it's just kind of like filled with this like pink effervescent, or not effervescent. Um, I can't think of the word for glowing, but pink like glowing liquid, and it's got a little stopper on top.
Yeah, so Kyrinos will reach out for it, kind of probably trying to hold it, maybe like almost picking it up like delicately, like holding the, supporting the base of the the decanter or the bottle. um I think he would probably go to uncork it to kind of take a whiff. Were you thinking phosphorescent? Was that the word you were going for?
I feel like phosphorescent would fit. It doesn't seem like where my mind was going.
Like more mushrooms, like that's.
I mean, yeah, like the glow is what I was going for. I just not necessarily connecting the dots in my brain to hear phosphorescent. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
get a lot
maybe
of.
the
Sorry, go ahead.
feel like maybe it's the like root of the accent that like means glowing. And maybe like phosphorescent is just like a different kind of it. But again, like it's just one of those things. Like sometimes I'm thinking of a word and I don't need it to be extra complicated. So as soon as I catch myself stuck on it, I try to just move away. Especially, no offense or anything to you, Chris, but on a regular basis, I forget that this is a second language for you. So when I do catch myself like looking for a like more verbose word, I'm like, wait, Let's use something that Chris is more likely to know the meaning of.
I mean, it's fine. If there's a word I don't really understand, I'll probably ask or I'll just Google it.
That's
Yeah.
actually part of the reason why I forget that this is your second language so often.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, your English is so good, I kind of almost forget.
Oh, thank you for that compliment.
Like, if I tried to play in, like, German or something like that, I'd be completely, like, probably lost.
Well, the wonders of the Swedish schooling system teaching, students English from very early age.
Yeah, it's like, because, like, all of Europe, like, they study, like, I remember when I, like, went overseas, it was like, most of them will study, like, 3 or 4 different languages, you know? It's like, whereas in the US, even, like, bilingual is kind of a rare thing. I mean, unless you're like, unless except for people who kind of grew up learning a second language, or most people who like just grew up learning English, like they'll study it in school and then just never really follow through. Is my experience. But anyway, didn't mean
I've
to get us off on a tangent.
I started learning French in 5th grade, 4th grade, I think. Went to France in 5th grade. Was pretty well spoken. Nearly lost all of it before I got to high school and I started taking French again. And then I've probably taken almost 12 years of French and without using it. When I graduated from college, I went from damn near fluent to I have very little French ability left. I hate that. One, I wish I took Spanish because now that I live in the South, holy shit, Spanish would have been so much more useful. But two, I regret never having gone to France or gone into something that used it because bilingual is so much better.
Yeah, you really got to like immerse yourself in it, and yeah, and especially the older you get, it's tough to like go back and try to learn a language again. Like my mom was trying to learn Finnish, which is a ridiculously difficult language to begin with, but
Yeah, I my grandmother's side was Finnish, so yeah, I know a bit of that.
yeah, I got extended family over there, and she's been over a few times, so she was trying to learn some of it, and yeah, it's just very difficult. It's like part of a family of languages. It's only like there's only 2 or 3 languages like that are anything like it.
So as you unstopper the bottle, you are going to see as soon as you pull the top from this bottle, there's going to be like a whirl of this pink, and it's going to start to fill this entire room until you see as it all kind of like comes together in a wisp towards the ground in front of your feet and starts to form up, and you'll start to see this like pink mist turning into flesh, and it's almost like building from like the inside out this body of a humanoid. And then as it goes up her legs, you start to see like the feminine curves, and it starts to draw up past and up to a fully formed woman kind of standing before you, draped across in like pink and red, like a very like gossamer thin, like flowing robes. And she'll immediately start to speak in a language that neither of you speak.
Yes, so at least I can't understand you. Do you know any other language? Probably. Does she
And
seem to react to those words very serious?
My
yeah,
bad. She's actually she's actually too big to fit in this room as well. She should be a large creature. So she kind of like is almost like squeezed into this corridor as her body fully forms, and you kind of like hear like as her intentions in the word is perhaps a little bit clearer. There's certainly like kind of a commanding aspect too, but as Taryn starts to speak, you see as her head will kind of like cant to the side for a moment, and she just kind of snaps her fingers, and thank you for releasing me. Your service is appreciated. Bow before me and give me your names.
So Kyranos he'll almost like stand like taller, like almost like straighter at her like command to bow, but he will give her his name. I'm Kyranos. And then he'll introduce Zeros and then kind of gesture towards Taryn.
Yeah, and at that, Tyron will give like a small, like polite bow, and then Tyron, and then introduces Quinn as well.
You would dare release me and defy me in the same actions? Bend thy knee.
I will not. Not. Blanking on the word, like we were just talking about. But like essentially, like do not assume to command me, something like that. Very kind of speaking, very almost like in a very imperious tone that maybe seems a little different than what kind of like the others have heard him speaking before.
You will not show me the due respect, then you will gain nothing for giving me freedom. And she's gonna snap her fingers, and she disappears.
Yeah, that's the flaw.
Tyron goes, as she disappears, he's like, huh, yeah, wonder what that was all about.
You should not have asked me to bow.
I mean, it's just a bow. Not that hard. And Tyron does it just like slightly bow and see? Pretty easy.
No, you are free to do as you will, but I will not bow to anyone. But might as well keep the bottle at least. Should we see if we can find out where that skeleton came from?
Yeah, sure. Tyron will go examine the end of the hallway.
So without much effort at all, you can certainly get into the end of the hallway. You can see signs that this is another door that you can simply press on. You have a solid sense that like a little bit of force from this side, and it's going to slide towards you, and then you can slide it out of the way in a similar way as how you watched Kyranos open the door to get to this room.
Yes, because both Tyron and I am paranoid at this moment. He's gonna check for traps, just because.
Roll a perception to kind of just like simply looking for any evidence of a trap. Gotcha. Looking over the doorway, there does not appear to be anything that is trapped in this door.
Yeah, then he's just gonna open it.
So the moment you open this door, there's going to be a horrific scent of sulfur and brimstone that just wafts out of this doorway. Is it like that little bit of a push kind of like pulls it back towards you a little bit, and it almost like cracks the edge so you can start to slide it. But the moment that happens, there's just like a like vomitous smell of rotten egg. And I don't know what brimstone smells like. I think it's supposed to be like volcanic rock. So I want to say just kind of it's almost like charcoal-ish, kind of like that, like burning essence. But you just kind of have this like waft out of the room. There's like a little bit of like tearing in your eyes just against the strength of this smell. And inside, as soon as you see within, you can see this large black stone room, and immediately can spot that there is a tall green frog-like figure that's just standing about 30 or so feet away from you, staring at you. And on the ground, all around it, is this white line that stands out from the black stone. And you can start to see, moment by moment, that there's an incredibly intricate design drawn across this floor in this white that just stands out stark against the darkness.
You might need a jewel to tame that thing, Taryn.
Yeah, but any kind of jewel? How?
So is Kyrinos able to get a sense of what the purpose of these intricate runes might be? I mean, his like initial thought is it's something that's like maybe keeping this thing within its bounds, but
Roll an Arcana. You can have advantage. Uh, that's a 2. I'm like, 14's good enough, and it's a fucking 2. Yeah, I can't even like make you roll if I'm gonna think in the teens is enough. Yeah, you can kind of spot like pretty quickly. This is definitely a confinement, and you can see that like this incredibly intricate design is like drawn with salt. When you kind of like look around this room, there's just about like a centimeter or so, maybe like an inch, like 2 or so centimeters tall, like piled down, like poured line of salt, that makes all of these different like intricacies around the room. Um, and then let's go for that it is thickest around that like outer circle that is most clearly visible in this image.
so Kyrinos will like to Taryn, just make sure we don't disturb any of that circle.
All right.
Wouldn't want it getting free, certainly not before we can tame it.
Oh, son of a bitch. Ah! You can see the green frogs on top of the sarcophagus. The fucking slotty is invisible. I fucked that up so bad. I'm sticking with it how it is that you guys can immediately see the slot. Son of a bitch.
Oh, you said there's also a frog?
I mistook, like, as I'm like ad-libbing the like descriptions, this is Nang Nang's tomb. Like the description of the frog made me describe the danger in this room, because I didn't actually read, like I didn't reread the danger in this room. to see that the first descriptor is that it is invisible. So it just kind of fails. But I can't like ask you guys to ignore this and approach it. We just have to kind of move forward how it is. Because I mean, yeah, you've got to at very least moving in here recognize that there is a protective charm in the salt. There's not really a way to like that robs you guys of the experience of this room. There's no way to tell you like pretend that you don't see this creature that I've already revealed to you.
Could try, but yeah, be kind of tough.
Yeah, I think for what it's worth, I mean, this is no offense, this is the cost of how late I stayed up last night. My brain is definitely fried from everything yesterday. That's two what I would say bigger mistakes. The first one was easier to deal with. This one, not so much. But yeah. I'd say it puts it a little bit more clearly in recognizing, like, at least walking into this room, you guys knew something about that clue that you need the stone. Oh, my bad. You would be coming in from the left side of this room. Yeah, the door is like up in that position there. But yeah, it's just too much regardless. I think having it just be clear and overtly there just makes more sense after I fucked up like that.
Well, I mean, that was definitely that was a long session yesterday.
So we just have to kind of go forward with it like that. You can see that this is Nang Nang's tomb. Maybe make it a little bit clearer that like you guys can like hear something breathing inside of this room. I think the smell of the sulfur and the brimstone was meant to be a clue about what's in this room. With like the actual addition of these like wards across the ground, you're supposed to kind of approach with this hesitancy, um, and perhaps already understand, like thinking about that clue from Acererak, that you need, what was it, the stone to tame the frog or whatever? Like something about this sarcophagus, you should not just approach until you think you have the stone that it would take to tame this danger. Otherwise, and then from this point on, I'd say you guys can kind of sense or see this creature on top of it regardless. You either have to battle it or you have to find the stone.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall, Taryn, have we found this particular stone on this level? I think we have.
No, I can't remember either.
And then you guys have Oblaka is inside of Terran. Oblaka thinks you should add more salt to this pentagram. To add more salt, you'll be able to keep whatever is inside of it more protected. Like you'll protect yourself more from it. And then I think Wango is inside of Quinn.
Yeah, that's right.
Wango urges her to wreck the symbol and see what happens. So I guess the real thing is can I get you to have Quinn just kick some salt aside?
Yeah. I mean, she's in the room and yeah, she would probably just do it, see what happens.
All right, so we'll go with that. Kind of fixes my mistake because as soon as Wango kind of tells her like, "What's the salt do? Let's see, kick some aside, and we'll probably find out." And the moment she kicks it aside, like the breathing starts to form into this large frog-like creature. So again, from the skeletons, you guys reset yourselves back to full here.
Yep.
Let's take a break before we have a slotty fight.
All right, sounds good.
It can be like 5 minutes. I just want to run to the restroom myself.
Yep. Oh, I should be back in a few.
Yeah, and I'll Yeah, I'll just be here.
Yeah, I'm curious what that thing was that came out of the bottle, but
I mean, it's a bottle, genie in a bottle, and we pissed it off.
I should have Kyranos tell it like, I freed you, you bow to me. But I didn't think to, which maybe is a good thing. That might have pissed it off even more.
Yeah, maybe. But I do want to say, I was very tempted to bring up Kiernes bowing to the statue several times.
Well, things have changed since then.
Yeah, drastically. Me-
Just remember that writing on the wall, right?
Yeah. I just love it. The things being inhabited by the gods. I just love as well that both Terran and Quinn. Terran has the god who makes him very cautious, and Quinn has the exact opposite.
Yeah. I like the idea too of like the rogue is suddenly like afraid of his own shadow.
They're all there for a purpose. I think a large part of why that genie is where it is precisely because somebody is not going to bow to it.
That makes sense. Also makes sense that Azrak would put it like that, just to fuck with people.
Well, the other crazy thing is like Kyrnos didn't even hesitate and just immediately opened it. And that was like, oh man, it doesn't owe you guys any allegiance at all. You didn't like do anything. You just released it. And like, should it disappear right away? Maybe it'll be in a good mood towards you. And then you're like, oh, I won't bow. I'm like, all right, peace, I'm out. All right, so if I could have you guys roll initiative, please. What is Kyranos' dexterity? Is 1?
+1, yep.
That will work out in your favor. Oh yeah, I don't actually say it enough, but like once you roll your character, when I'm asking you for your dexterity, I'm almost always asking for the modifier. It's not until there's actually like a tie break, like when you both have 12, that I would ever potentially need to know um, the actual number. It's one of the weird things about D&D. The modifier is all that matters. Not that you don't know that, but so the moment Quinn kind of like steps forward and just brushes like the slightest bit of this salt away, you're going to see this creature is kind of like perched on top of the sarcophagus. My bad. I don't think I actually prepared to do this like mind fuck I'm about to do. So assuming like Quinn's like close enough to do this, the moment Quinn kind of slides this across, this creature that's like standing directly in front of her is actually going to slash out and claw into Quinn, right as she kind of kicks this aside. But I'm going to do 2 attacks on Quinn here. All right, so the crit is going to be for DC 20 No, DC 17, if you can make a saving throw, and this is for 4 wounds off of her hit points. So she will save that as it like claws across her. And then the next slash 14 will miss as it claws into her again. And yeah, I think it's going to immediately kind of like wheel around and outside of the salt. Kind of like this as it like covers to the base of this room and away from the salt. And you'll see, even as it like steps out of the salt, this thing's now like dragging its feet, almost like creating like massive swathes of the salt that are brushed aside, already ruining like as much of this as it can. And this is like, again, in like that first moment as Quinn moves like the slightest bit of salt, that creature shows up. The green thing you guys had been seeing, still just kind of standing there, almost like breathing at you. And it's going to go to Kyranos. How would you like to react?
Yeah, so Kyranos is this thing kind of slashes out at Quinn and moves. He is going to I think
My bad.
he's going to
The gray frog is much smaller. It's like normal size.
okay. I think it's going to try, or Kyranos is going to try to kind of blast into its mind. He's going to cast Dissonant Whispers.
Gotcha. At the gray or the green one?
At the gray, the like toad-like thing, the
Gotcha.
gray one. Sorry. He'll just cast it at first level for now. And it's actually DC 14 because it's a bard spell.
Gotcha. Yeah, it shows the DC there for me.
Oh, right, yeah.
Dissonant Whispers, when it takes effect, is it just the damage or does that do something else? Does that give it disadvantage on? No, that's cutting words.
If it fails, it takes 3d6 psychic damage and must immediately use its reaction, if available, to move as far as possible away from you.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it will then provoke an opportunity attack from Zeros, Quinn, and Terran. Oh, wait a second. Let me make sure it's not immune to. Does it cause fear, or does it just make it do that?
No, it just makes it move away. It's not actually like a frightened condition.
Gotcha.
And it says it doesn't move into like obviously dangerous ground. Like it wouldn't cause it to like run into like a pit of fire or something like that.
Yeah, so you'll see as it like immediately flees away from the 3 of them, and it runs towards that backward corner. And that's only for that like moment, right? Like next turn it acts normally.
Yep, it does. It's just like a one immediate reaction, and then after that, it's back to normal.
Gotcha. So that's your action. Any movement from Kyranos, otherwise it will go to Zeros. Did you guys do your opportunity attacks? Does everybody want to, or do you guys not want to? So what is that? 29? No, 31.
Yeah, I don't think Zeros would have actually had a weapon out at this point.
He can punch.
Yeah, I guess might as well try.
I don't think of it as you guys being surprised, again, because I'm going for the idea that you immediately saw like the green toad on top of this, like staring you down.
Okay. Well, really, either case, that's probably going to miss.
Big ol' miss for sure.
But yeah, Kyrdos will, I think, he'll move. Yeah, kind of. Well, he'll want to. Well, the circle's already pretty much ruined, but he'll essentially try to, yeah, kind of like move up this way. Yeah, that'll be it for him.
Gotcha.
Oh.
From there,
And then I guess, yeah, Zeros is his actual attacks, right? So
yep. From there, we'll go to Zeros.
yeah, so as it's running away or from the Discordant Whispers, Zeros will attempt to blast it twice with an Eldritch Blast. And I'm going to give him advantage on the first one. With his bridge.
Excellent. Both of those will hit with the 19 and the 20 for 11 more force.
And he'll move a little bit as well, but that will be all for him.
Gotcha. So as it moves away from this reaction, you all cut it down, and as Kieran or Zeros slings some more force into it, slamming it against the wall, creature's going to look pretty much bloodied. Like at this point, you can already see like these massive like open wounds from these blasts. And like the force, like where it's like slammed into the wall, you can see signs of like broken bones, like just beneath its like rib cage is almost like kind of caved in on one side from where the two blasts of eldritch power kind of sunk into it. And it's going to go to you, Taryn. What would you like to do?
Well, I'm gonna cunning action dash so that I can get to it. And then I'm gonna give myself the inspiration for advantage.
What was it? It was right outside of 30 feet?
Yep, and I have 25.
Oh, that's what it was. You're 25. I gotcha.
Yeah, the disadvantage of being a small creature.
I thought rogues were one of the classes that got the increased movement, but really that's just cunning action, probably is why I think that.
Yeah, because I think only I'm not sure if
Monks and
it's all.
barbarians.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna give myself advantage, and I'm gonna use one of the charges on the knife as well.
Gotcha. What are you Okay, that's the charges are something that you can sacrifice for it, right?
Yeah, we said
So you'll be
like
able to sneak attack twice.
yeah, I think that was it, right? 'Cause it was I could sacrifice either.
I think I gave you
Yeah,
3 choices. You could do hit dice, the charges, or something else. I just wanted to confirm because again, I
yeah,
feel like it's been a month, but
I'm gonna
sounds
use
good.
I'm gonna use the hit dice, but I think one of the others was like 1 point of exhaustion, maybe.
That sounds right. Oh, using it from the knives. Did we give it a charge, but that can actually like be permanently damaging, right? That's why hit dice is probably always the best. I don't know. It doesn't matter right now, but first attack with advantage. Second attack can still sneak attack if you land both of them here. That will hit, and that one will hit as well for another, is that 25, 26, 42, 52, 59. I mean, for a hit die, I don't think that's bad.
Yeah,
But for
no,
what
that's
that's
good.
worth, that's fucking stupid powerful.
I'm trying to remember. Was it sneak attack that I gained, or was it just that I could get like my modifier?
I don't know. I'd have to look how it's actually like written. I thought the point was to give you. I thought the whole point was to give you like extra sneak attack abilities.
Misremembering maybe. But yeah,
No big deal. We'll go for it. This isn't necessarily meant to be like a stupid challenging encounter.
oh, that's it for Taryn, and then Quinn is gonna charge in. I think she should reach. Yeah, no problem. And swing twice.
First one will hit. The second one is going to miss. And she's still not doing her full damage there. Oh
I
wait,
thought I added the
it's
two.
the +2 is her. I feel like she should have the +4 for strength though.
Oh no, she only has 14 strength.
Oh, like it lists her strength. I got you. Yeah, I feel like that's just one of the weird things how those are designed. I feel like their main stat should be higher than that, even at level 7. Um, but work. That works. 9 slashing. Yeah, that's actually I should have updated after Taryn. It was gonna put it into the mortally wounded, and that's gonna kill it. As soon as you cut that one down, as soon as she kind of like moves forward and plunges, I always forget the name that I gave to Jarek's sword, but as soon as she like plunges it down into its throat, like down into this creature, the green frog on top of the sarcophagus is just going to disappear.
So Kyranos wants to move over and take a look at this body. Like, does this look like a natural creature? Like, or like an
Make an Arcana check here. I guess really the way you phrase it is natural. It could be nature check or like a medicine check, but I feel like just as any sort of caster, Arcana will tend to be how you lean. But you can choose of those three.
yeah, I think in this case it's like nature. Like it's just like a normal the nature check.
Yeah. So yeah, just give me that nature. There is nothing natural about these things existing. It may look frog-like, but like if you open up one of these wounds, this thing doesn't have like a circulatory system to it. It has like some structure of like bones inside of it. None of them actually support where they would need to support. Nothing about this thing, just kind of like opening it up and looking at it, makes sense. It's like there's bones inside of a flesh bag and it looks like this creature, but other than that, like it's pretty bizarre to look at the insides of. Those probably like organs that would not make sense in the least bit, like organs like in legs and like open cavities in its stomach, like in its belly. Nothing about this thing should look natural.
Yeah, so Kyranos will kind of share that. Like this, let's see how this thing is even alive. It's like no creature I've ever seen before. Where did that other one go?
Yeah, no clue, but doesn't seem like it's attacking us at least. Or if it is, it's biding its time.
Kierno's gonna look towards this thing again. It's like, do you think the warning is referring to this thing? Only very loosely be, might call it any sort of frog. Toad.
I mean, it seems to be the one who fits the most, at least, from what we've seen so far. But yeah, I wouldn't really call this a frog either.
Let me have either of you. You can make a choice of an Arcana or a History check here. Kind of each of you has isolated like memories of kind of like children's stories, like the things that warn you about like the dangerous creatures of the world. And some of the more fantastical ones are the things that people still talk about uh, as if they're worth warning children about, but not necessarily real. You've kind of encountered like one of these things pretty recently here in the aberration that is that like eye stalk like creature that you've kind of like come in contact with on that third level. And some of these things will tend to be those things described as like mechanically as aberrations. These are things that don't partake in the natural world. They are made of pure chaos. And there are occasional like whispers kind of thing. It's like talking about the boogeyman. Nobody as an adult believes in the boogeyman, but everybody as a child has that innate fear of the darkness and what you can't see. And there's those whispers of these frog like creatures that are from a place other than this, and this would fit that fear. So, as like a pure form of fear, that's kind of what these things are. And I'd say it kind of fits that bill where um, pulling from, like, say, amphibians, like frogs and toads, as kind of like a gray line between, like, which is which. You kind of have that understanding that a frog is a toad, could be a shit. There's like two other like humanoid versions of frogs in this world. Nang Nang is one of them, and then there's another like frog type of person who I think you guys encountered when you first found Vorn, but I can't think of those two races. But like
Yeah,
you
the
kind of have
bullywugs, right?
Bullywug, I feel like is what Nang Nang is.
Oh, and then the
I could be wrong, but basically that you guys know like four kind of forms. Oh wait, no, Nang Nang is different than the Bullywugs. But yeah, there's like four or five different forms of frog-like life in this world. I think you'd have a sense of when something says or warns of frog, it could be any of them. But you have a pretty solid sense that like this thing might be what you were warned about.
so perhaps if we had at the gym, it might not have attacked us. I don't know. What do you think, Taryn? Should we take our chances and see if we can get that sarcophagus open, or perhaps take a look around the room first?
My bad. I meant to actually add in with Taryn. He might remember something about gems in the story, but he didn't quite roll high enough for me to give you like the actual answer to that.
Yeah, I think I player wise no, but obviously no idea with Kierna.
Oh, one of the other ones is right here in my actual book. The grungs are what Neng Neng is.
Oh, right. Oh, and wasn't the other frog-like thing with the Hexagons the Froghemoth, or?
The Froghemoth is a weird thing because, yeah, that sits more in like it was naturally a frog until Ubtoa gave it for whatever reason. Like the myth is that Ubtoa gave it those tentacles, I think, to keep off the panther. I can't remember who was hunting it with the spear, but that was like the myth of it. But the Froghemoth, I think, would fit into kind of the frog nature as well. I think bullywugs are normally like gray, the gray hawk setting. Yeah, gray hawk. But
Yeah,
my
they're
bad.
pretty.
That's all
Sorry, no, go ahead.
That's all kind of distractions from the actual moment. I didn't mean to necessarily prevent you guys from moving forward.
Yes, no. So yeah, Kyrnos is kind of like to Terran. Like, do you think we can try and get the sarcophagus open? Do you want to try and look around the room a bit more first?
Yeah, for safety's sake, we should probably just look around, see if there's anything else lurking or any more traps. And Tam will do like try to make like a sweep, checking the walls, checking the flooring near the sarcophagi.
Gotcha. So again, like I'm gonna basically say there's an area where this entire like salt issue is destroyed.
Do we think we recall the pattern well enough to try to essentially like restore it?
That's the type of thing. If you wanted to go through that effort, I would say we would put it to like a either like Arcana check or like to know it, and maybe a dexterity check to see how well you do it. But it's just a question of like, do you think this is still working? You've already seen like the moment Quinn touched the salt, she was attacked. So do you think if there's now this massive area of damage to the salt, do you think it's still working? Do you think you can repair it?
I mean, my thinking is like these sorts of things need to be fairly precise. Um, so it would be, given how much it's already been kind of swept away by that thing as it came out, it may not be salvageable. I mean, Kyrnos is willing to try, um, if if Terran thinks it's worth it. But
And then the other thing that you were speaking to was actually searching around the room. I'm going to say those are kind of two different things. You can search the edge of the room if you would like. You can mess with the center of the room, but that's kind of two different actions. Just let me know what you decide that you're actually doing. If you want to search further around the outside, or if you actually have any thoughts like on how to approach the sarcophagus, basically.
I'm thinking Taryn would probably like to search around the room first.
Gotcha. If you're more just looking for things, let me get a perception. If you're kind of like moving around the room a little bit slower, taking a little bit more time, let me get an investigation as you're kind of like almost feeling around the area, like looking for something to react to. Gotcha. So as you get around the room, you're eventually going to get to a point near where that corpse is, a little bit to the left of it, where you kind of like are just sliding your hand across the stone and just press in on the stone, and it kind of like slides in about like at your shoulder height, and there's a small like say 2.5 foot tall. What is Terran? 4 feet tall? Or is it
No,
3 feet?
he's 3 feet.
Gotcha. Yeah. So 2.5 feet tall sounds right. And it's like almost just like a cube that kind of like pushes forward. But you see that there's like a tunnel that leads like downward. Maybe not downward. Let's go for the tunnel leads like just kind of like slightly in and slightly to the right. But it's just like this 2x2 tunnel. For you, you can walk like hunched over. For everyone else, they're going to have to crawl. And Quinn is going to get to the point where her armor might be an issue. But she's probably squeezing where the other ones can just kind of crawl prone. But otherwise it's dark inside of that tunnel. So right now, you can just see like the 10 or so feet from your rings. If you took a torch, you could see about 30 or so feet, but you can't actually see where that tunnel goes.
Hey guys, I found a tunnel. Don't really know where it leads, but it's here. I haven't really found anything else regarding the sarcophagus in the middle, though. No traps I could find.
Given what happened in some of the other tombs, I agree we should probably investigate that tunnel, but we might want to do what we need here first before we take our leave.
Let me actually get a perception check here from you, Taryn. Let's go for you have a solid idea where that tunnel might lead because you can smell red wine in the air. There's one other room that you guys have walked into here where you guys smelled the red wine. And remember, again, I made a mistake on that one. You guys never actually saw the wine coming out in that room, but you would have smelled it.
Yeah, then I'll point that out to the other one. I can smell the red wine, so might be the tunnel's connected to that false tomb we were in.
Perhaps a secret entrance or exit. Perhaps we could use that to our advantage if we decided we wanted to take a look at that sarcophagus after all. But
Okay, so who wants to go first?
well, are we trying to get this lid open here, the sarcophagus? Don't know if that creature is actually gone, or I imagine the circle is no longer active, but
Looking over your spell list here, I don't think you really took anything that's like illusion-based magic, right?
not really. I mean, I've got like detect magic. That's not illusion.
School-wise, though, I guess is what I was thinking. I feel like detect magic might be like abjuration.
Yeah, no real illusion spells now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. Taryn is gonna take out one of the the spear daggers he has in a backpack and just throw it to where the creature was before. See if anything happens.
Gotcha. You fling a dagger right across the room, and it like dings off of the curved section of the wall to the south.
Well, it doesn't seem to be anything where whatever that thing was. Uh,
All right. So Kyranos is going to deciding he wants to try and keep his, even though he thinks his circle is no longer doing anything, he's going to essentially use kind of the opening that's already been created to walk through rather than messing up any more of what remains of the kind of intact circle, and kind of go in this way.
Gotcha. As much as possible, not disturb any more salt as you kind of like approach the center.
Yeah, as much as possible. Yeah.
I think overall you could be pretty well successful at getting towards the center of this thing. I think as well, this description is somebody who likes modern like hippie stuff because I think this is far more intricate than again, I think the book just has a pentagram here. Which is like the triangle or the like 5-pointed star with the circle in it.
Right. Yeah. I'm always thinking of with the summoning, like the idea though is that like they need to be like if you have like a couple of grains out of place, it's like doesn't work, and that's why summoning things or trying to like control things within these are so dangerous.
I sit along that kind of same school of it. Usually, it is the tiniest of most mundane mistakes that kind of opens you up. One book series for children that I really enjoy, like how it takes on magic, is the Bartimaeus trilogy. Um, I can't quite look at the author to like give that to you. It's like just outside of my view in my library. But one of the things that I really like about it in Take Two Magic is like magicians should hide their name. Your name is a very powerful thing. And then one of the other things is it's one of those things like if you forget like a window open, 1 or 2 grains of salt blowing away from the circle is enough to free whatever you invoke. And that's why I went for the idea that the moment Quinn thinks of it and starts to brush away smoke, the entire circle failed.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think Kyranos is going to look towards Taryn, and as he like kind of approaches the sarcophagus, and he's going to. Oh, here goes.
So you can. My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh no, he's just going to say like, all right, here goes nothing, and try to open it.
So you can see on top of the sarcophagus once you're closer, there's like a couple of figures on top of it. They look like just kind of wooden carved frogs. All of them seem to be dancing or kind of some such where like a leg is like up and extended out, or maybe their arms are kind of extended out. A lot of them are like just in different forms of their bodies are like contorted. But they're all kind of stacked around the sarcophagus's top. There's probably like 10 or so of them on top of here. If you're ready to push it off, though, you can certainly try to push the lid, which would be a strength check. I don't think you would have athletics, but you could do athletics if you had it. No.
No, I mean it would be slightly better because of the whole jack of all trades thing, but I don't know how that
Oh,
really
yep,
works.
athletics then. Yeah, I forget. Like, there's almost always a skill attributed to it when I do say like straight skills. So yeah, you push at it. It's just a little bit too strong for your abilities at this point. Probably two of you could push this without a problem, or maybe Quinn could do it herself.
Yeah, he would like call like Quinn, here, help me get this open.
Yeah, and Quinn will just walk straight up to it, ignoring the salt and everything, just walking straight over.
Nothing at all happens as she does so. As far as I'm concerned, the two of you can do it together without any rolls here. You just start to slide the sarcophagus's top kind of down towards the south side of this room, maybe, and kind of like you could either like just drop it off carelessly and the stone might break. You could slide it up and lean it up against it, but when you slide it across, um, let me get a wisdom saving throw. My bad, psych out. Yeah, inside of it you see a clay urn. And there's like this soft fabric, like this green and kind of like bluish teal like silk that lines the entire inside of this sarcophagus. And there's only this little clay urn inside of it.
Zeros is going to. He might like kind of like he'd like run his hands maybe over the interior just to try and like see if there's any like a false bottom or anything like that. Um,
Doesn't appear to be.
so I think he would. Does the urn have like a lid that looks like it can be opened, or is it more like a single piece of?
Yeah, I'd say the urn, probably kind of like a typical like where you would put ashes in it, where it's almost like a bowl kind of like upturned on top, and then like the bottom half seems to almost be like inside of that like top kind of bowl like object, but it's just kind of like laid inside there.
Yeah, so I guess Kyranos will go to lift the urn and maybe like try and look inside, see if there's anything, in through the opening. But he will attempt to kind of pick it up out of the sarcophagus.
And that, my apologies again, is where I need the wisdom saving throw, please.
All right. And I believe he'd have
So,
advantage on that.
what's your advantage on this one for?
I think Papa Zodal, it says advantage on all wisdom checks. Or is that just ability checks, not saving?
Yeah, wisdom check is going to be just abilities. Let me take a look at that, actually make sure. Yeah. So that's like that you are wiser when you are trying to do things that are wisdom based.
Gotcha. Okay.
But essentially, yeah, that's for skills. So yeah, the moment Kyranos reaches out and touches the urn, Kyranos, you are going to start to dance, and you will dance like you've never danced before.
Is he able to like speak, or is he kind of he's like all he's doing is dancing?
Let's see. I believe you are like shuffling and tapping your feet, throwing those arms out in some wonderful disco actions. But I believe you are. Do, 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 do. Feel like this is a charm, basically, where to you nothing matters but dancing.
Gotcha. So yeah, so he will just kind of he will dance.
And you are going to take 5 points of psychic damage. So what are the other three thinking as Kyranos like touches this urn and immediately starts acting foolishly?
I think Quinn would probably just look at him like kind of smirk. Yes. finding it a bit amusing.
And you're going to take another 16 points of psychic damage here.
Taryn would go in and like see if you could, I don't know, like try to pin him down a bit, like make him stop dancing.
Let me get another wisdom saving throw here from you, Kyrnos. All right, so that is going to bring you back from this, as you kind of sense, like as it falls away from you, some sort of curse on the actual urn took over your body for a moment, took over your ability to kind of like make your own choices. I don't think you're necessarily familiar of like what effect it is. But you can kind of approach from that perspective of like recognizing like touching the urine had its dangers, may have passed, may still be there.
Yeah, so as he'll kind of like give a nod of kind of grateful nod to Taryn, and he kind of gets up, probably feeling a little bit foolish, but kind of glancing at the urn and just all right.
My bad. That last 16 damage, you take the damage at the end. You can try to stop it during your turn. So the order of operation I had flipped there. So add 16 hit points back.
Okay, so it's only that initial 5.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Um. Yeah, I guess Kyrnos is thinking. He wants to maybe try and dispel it, but he's not sure how. I mean, we're in the tomb of a god. This might be a fairly powerful effect, and it may be something. Maybe this is what happens if we don't have that, whatever the jewel that the plaque is talking, the warning was talking about. Perhaps we should leave it alone. Unless you have any ideas, Taryn.
No, not really. I mean, you probably know more about magic than I do, so.
Suppose there might be something inside. I could try to pick it up with the mage hand and overturn it, but I don't know if that will actually stop the effect and prevent it from. If you'll stand by and try to snap me out of it, or I start acting foolishly again, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot, though.
Upturn it with the mage hand and just kind of like shake it a bit.
Yeah.
All right. So as soon as you kind of like pick it up with the mage hand and start to like shake it out, nothing's happening. You're not hearing the music. You're not being forced to dance again. And you just kind of see is like immediately kind of like the top falls off of it and just like gray dust and little like flecks of bone are going to just start to scatter across the inside of the sarcophagus and just start to like waft into the air of this room. But you will also see three other things fall out that are not simply like part of bone and ashes. There's going to be, I think you'll see two potions. No, my bad. Two things. A potion and a um, small circular object, maybe the size of like your like clenched fist. But it almost looks like a kind of like crystal ball. All of this, though, at present, though, is coated in like dust of, this is the body. Um, can't think what you do when you burn people and put them in an urn. What it's called?
Oh, cremation, cremate.
Yeah, this is the cremated remains of Nang Nang. So you're like scattering this all up. So like two little things fall out. One's like this perfectly circular like orb that's about the size of a clenched fist. One seems to be a potion, but both of them are covered in like the gray dust of a cremated body.
So I think Kyranos is going to attempt to continue, like to use like as he does after he does this, and maybe like coughing on the kind of as the kind of bone and ash go scattering a little bit and feeling a little bit a little irreligious at that point. Just dumped out the remains of a god. Well, try to use his mage hand to maybe try and like maybe try to like almost like, well, he only has the one hand, so he can't really like scoop the ashes back. But maybe he'll try to like kind of clean some of the ashes, or like kind of like collect them back again in like a little pile, or uh, maybe try to like wipe off some of this stuff from these objects.
Gotcha. So you're just trying to like scoop some of the ashes like back into the urn and try to like get as much of it as possible, like kind of relatively back in place as if you didn't do something pretty sacrilegious.
Yeah, almost like trying to like like scoop, because it's not going to work well because he's only got the one mage hand. He doesn't want to touch the urn again with his actual hand, so it looks very weird what he's trying to do. Like, and it's not working very well at all. But
Gotcha. And are you taking the other two objects or are you just kind of leaving those behind?
I think he might like kind of probably eventually kind of just realizing that his efforts are not helping at all. He'd probably kind of like maybe mutter a little like, apologies, Nang Nang. But then he would probably with the mage hand again go to pick up the probably this circular object would catch his attention first, and he'd kind of like he like glance towards Tara and Quinn in case either one of them wanted to pick up the potion or the vial.
Yeah, Taryn will pick up the file and just try to see if he can recognize in any way what that is. And I'm not sure he can.
Like I mean, you could wipe off like some of the ash like onto your like tunic and kind of like buff the glass a little bit, and you'll see that inside it has kind of like a like dark cherry red fluid in it. Looks like a healing potion.
Yeah, I guess he'll keep it. Just
And Kyranos, you have the orb in the mage hand. Are you going to take that from the mage hand?
Yeah, you'd probably like do a little physical inspection of it, like essentially have the mage hand kind of bring it in front of his face. But then, yes, he would kind of pluck it out of the mage hand and actually grasp it himself.
So the moment you touch that, I need you to make a choice here. Papa Zotl can be odd or even, and Nang Nang will be the reciprocation of that, so odd or even. I want you to decide who is who, and then roll a die.
All right, so I'm going to say even is Papa Zodal, odd is Nang Nang. So it looks like Papa Zodal is sticking in him.
So as you take the tiny little orb from the mage hand, nothing at all happens.
So he will, not sure. And he didn't have any sort of sense of this, what was happening, right? To him, it's just like nothing happened. Like he didn't feel any sort of like internal like tug of war or anything like that.
I don't feel like that's quite cinematic enough. So maybe you almost see kind of like the shadows of this room almost like converging into this like frog like queen of Nang Nang. And she kind of like rises as this almost like shamanic uh like being before you in the shadows. And behind you, Taryn might recognize like the wings of Papa Zotl, almost like extending from your shoulder blades and kind of extending out. And in like a moment of like wind just like gust through this room and like the salt just scattering across the room, the image of Nang Nang before you is just going to disappear.
So as kind of as that kind of image fades, he's not sure if um, he'll look towards Taryn and the others, and almost kind of like hold out the orb. Is this? It seems perhaps Papa Zodal doesn't want company. Either anyone else, and he'll just kind of hold out the orb.
Sure. And Tara will pick it up just to see if anything happens to him.
So you're going to take the orb as well?
Yep.
Let me do the same thing for you. Determine which one is going to be odd, which one is going to be even, and cast a die for me. And you've got Ublaka in you, right?
Yes, Ubulaka. So let's say Ubulaka even.
So as Taryn takes it, you have this kind of still like same like whirl of like shadow as Nang Nang kind of like takes form in front of him, and kind of like as she's like almost like comes into this chant, you see as like Ublaka almost starts to form like over his shoulder, and as this small bear-like creature kind of like forms over his shoulder, Nang Nang just starts to like stomp her feet, moving closer, slamming her staff into the ground, and in kind of like again a wisp of air just kind of flowing over, not nearly as strong as the gust from Papa Zotel, Nang Nang is going to kind of like step into Terran, and and Ublaka is going to disappear in this wisp, and the chanting of Nang Nang is going to enter you, and you will hear for the first time from her voice. Oh, she doesn't have a line like that. Oh, there we go. Nang Nang would help you now.
Well, all right. Help is always a good thing to have, I think. Oh, just gonna ask then. Obalaka's ring of protection. Do I lose that as healing leaves?
You will immediately become unattuned from it. You no longer have access to the Ring of Protection. You will immediately notice that whatever this small orb is, it does nothing for you. This is a pearl of power. If you knew spells, if you had the ability to use magic, pretty sure this would be something that you would want to be able to use. But for you, it's not going to do anything. It will serve no purpose. And I would say with that flaw, you have no reason in the least bit to tell Justin about that.
Yeah, no, I'm just like, well, this is nifty. And just stash it.
You just kind of have this sense like this is a petrified grung egg, and it is extremely precious to you. Yeah, that is a great flaw for hiding how nice that would be for a sorcerer. But that at least gets you away from having to be supremely cautious over everything. And what's that power? You already have that ability. Like the difference is you can now basically walk on ceilings, among other things. But you pretty much had all the rest of that climbing speed.
Well, yeah.
Well, Kyranos is going to kind of he'll ask for Quinn's help to essentially get the lid back on, and then he'll kind of look towards Taryn and ask, well, perhaps we should. Do you want to see if that tunnel you found indeed leads where we think it does?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to, I could scout ahead. Sure, you could. You would all fit comfortably. I could. Just see where it leads.
So Kyranos will kind of raise his eyebrows a bit because this is the first time in a while that Taryn's been actively kind of offering, but he will nod and kind of give like a little um, nod of his head and gestures like absolutely lead on.
Oh god, I've got a rogue who wants to keep everything. Chris, please do not hesitate to remind me, as I will almost always, as a DM, tell people to split things. Please do not hesitate to remind me that right now I need to not do that. And I'm sorry, Justin.
No worries. And I think, but then like if Kierno sees him taking something, he'll be like, "I want to see that," and he'll expect Taryn to do it. If Taryn does it, then might be words, but no, we're all good. Yeah,
Gotta let rogues do what rogues always want to do.
to some extent, I think he's probably assuming that you know every party should just assume that the rogue is probably pocketing about half the stuff and showing them, only the, keeping the choicer bits for themselves.
Oh, 100%. So Taryn, you're going in there solo to start to like explore through this corridor.
Yeah, that I am.
So as far as exploring it goes, it kind of extends off for about like 20 or 30 feet, where it's heading off like slightly to the right. You can kind of sense the light behind you from them, just kind of like standing like almost hunched over watching you. You kind of can crawl with your rings forward. You can do so cautiously here. You also know you're kind of inside of a trap too, because you kind of knew to expect some sort of danger from this room. But you're eventually going to come down to a point where the little corridor starts to like tilt downward at like a 45-degree angle. Um, Not going to be impossible for you to climb down and or climb back out of it, but it probably will give you at least like maybe that initial point of hesitation before you just recognize how easy it is for you to overcome like a 45-degree slant on smooth stone.
Yeah, I'll continue a bit. So,
So as you start to move down this area, I don't think there's any reason for you not to recognize basically that like some of the stones starts to actually be, this is where like the colors of the map might fail, but I'd say some of the stone might still feel like the moisture. Oh, you guys didn't enter this room until after. Yeah, so let's say some of the stone actually starts to have this red hue to it, where it's not as brown as it was. And eventually, kind of halfway down, when you get to a point that you see there's another chute that goes up and away from you to your right, and then the chute continues moving down in front of you.
yeah, I want to check out the right option.
Gotcha. So crawling up like 5 or 10 feet, and it's probably about 5 or 10 feet vertically. This is almost like a 1-to-1 slant slope. You get to a point where it's no longer anything in front of you. The smell of wine moving forward in this would increase moment by moment until you basically are like overlooking a massive like what your rings give you like 10 feet, I think, of vision. Like I think it's 5 and 5. So you can see almost to the other side of this circle um, of basically what is this vat that's probably about a 15-foot radius, 15-foot diameter. So you can see almost to the other side of it, say like 70 or 80% of like side to side. But you can basically see in front of you, there's just a massive pool of red wine filling this, and it's extremely pungent. Um, Clearly oxidized, like there's a state where like it's almost like vinegar, just as much as it's almost like wine at this point.
Well, with that, I'm definitely sure where this tunnel leads to. So I'm gonna head back.
Heading back to the like T or heading back towards like the group.
Heading back towards the group entirely.
Gotcha.
as I get back, I'm just gonna go like, oh, definitely seems to lead to that false tomb we saw in the other mirror tomb. So found the wine and everything. Doesn't seem to be anything else interesting down there.
Do you think it might actually provide, if you took that that other direction, do you think it actually might provide entrance into that place? I'm thinking if we had an actual, we have a way out, we don't have to worry about trying to get past that massive granite thing. Perhaps we could actually risk trying to see what's inside there.
How was it? Could Quinn fit through that tunnel with her armor, or would you like have to take it off? Could you drag it with her, or?
Yeah, like her armor is much easier to move when she is not inside of it. But I would say that's kind of the takeaway there. Is I think it's best to say she has to disarm to go through there, but she can redon her armor on the other side. If she had to in a pinch, it's going to be extremely difficult for her to move through there with her armor on.
And then
So kind of my answer to that is let me put it this way. She can make it with her armor on, but I think most people are going to like kind of think like I'm not trying to fuck my armor up just to like move through here. If I've got to squeeze through a place, I'm going to take it off. If your life depended on it, you would fuck up your armor to move through.
yeah, so I would just like tell them it would be a tight fit, but sure we could get through here, and Quinn would probably have to take off her armor, but there is a bit of a drop as well. I mean, it's fine for me. Might be a bit harsher for you, but sure, I think we could get to that false tomb without any problem. But I mean, we could just as easily get out of that Papa Sodel's tomb. We have lifted that slab up a couple of times and gone through it.
I must admit, I'm curious what might be inside that sarcophagus, even if it's not one of the gods.
Yeah, I mean, we could get there from just going around. We don't have to go through the tunnel for that.
I don't think we want to another. This could be also a way. If it's a way in, it's also a way out. If that block dropped, trapping us inside again. Now we know there's at least one other way in.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, sure, I'm pretty sure I could fit and maneuver through that without problem, even with the wine pouring in. But honestly, I don't think your chances are as good as mine, especially not with coming from the tomb. It would be a bit of a climb as well to get up here. So
Oh, enough. How much? How far is the drop?
sure how far it was, but it's a bit of a steep climb, so I'd say 45 degrees.
I think I could probably manage that.
Oh, then yeah, sure, we can do it.
So in that case, I'll be right behind you if you want to lead the way again.
So heading back into the tomb.
Yeah, I think heading down I guess the passage as it goes north, like past the vat, right?
Yeah, when you like continue on, basically Taryn, you can like lead the way like all the way down. And from this side, yeah, I think you're good. I think you're good. Like once you actually start to come towards the bottom of it, I think you would already start to see some of the light coming through this room, from the light that kind of extends into it. So you all can, one after another, crawl out of this area and into this room. And once again, you can basically like see like there's these four gargoyle faces that are on each side of the room. You now have a solid sense of what they are, where the wine is coming from, and you know at least that one in the southwest leads to another place that you can go to. You have the sarcophagus in the center that has sunlight coming down out of this. I think this one is like the domed top. It's almost like a not rotunda, but it's like almost like a like a garden, like how you have the room that's like it's got an arched top, but it's only in one direction. It's not a circular. So this whole room almost has that kind of like arched hall, like east to west in it, and is currently open at the door to your west, where you guys know that large block comes up to seal this shut.
Taryn, do you think there might be other of these passages elsewhere? Should we see if we can find a few of them before we actually see what we can do with the sarcophagus itself?
Oh, I mean, sure. And Tam will start checking the gargoyles.
Gotcha. Which one are you gonna go to? You've got go to the north one, northwest.
Yep.
And did Taryn get a sense of how big the vat was?
Realistically, only kind of like the size of its like diameter wise. As far as like looking into it, his light's not going to penetrate wine on any meaningful level.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, so no idea how like deep or anything it is. Gotcha.
So yeah, when you start to move into this northern gargoyle, you're going to find a pretty similar kind of feel as you start to like move upward and still kind of maintaining that northern kind of feel for about 15 or 20 feet. Where you will see that this one only turns to the right. And there's probably about another 10 or so feet that it starts to incline away from you. If you wanted to continue forward, roll a perception check for me, please. While you're like kind of at this edge point at the turn where you saw like the other one like continued forward and away, this one only turns towards like the strong smell of wine. You hear ahead of you splashing and movement.
And I'll continue forward a bit more cautiously, but still continuing forward.
Gotcha. Let me have you roll initiative.
Is this just Taryn at the moment, or should we all roll?
You can do all of you. All right, Taryn. So as you kind of like move to the edge and start to like get closer to the kind of peak of this container. I can't think of the word that I used for it previously. And you can kind of see like signs of the wine is like moving and kind of slashing around. You are going to be yeah, I just think there's going to be like a splash of wine that comes up at you. And it is going to kind of like encircle around you and pulls you into the vat of wine. You are grappled and restrained inside of this vat of wine. And it's going to deal 28 points of bludgeoning damage to you.
Yeah, can I uncanny dodge that?
You have to be able to see for uncanny dodge, right?
When an attack that you can, yeah, that I can see.
You can't see this creature because it is made of liquid and it is inside of a vat of wine. So at present, I would say no. It is invisible. My bad. It's invisible. Normally, these are invisible when inside of water. So it is currently invisible when inside of wine. So you are getting pulled into this, and it's going to go to your turn. You are restrained. You have disadvantage on your attacks. But what you can do is still either try to break yourself free of that restraint with an action, or you can try to attack this thing at disadvantage and hope that you can kill to gain your freedom. But at present, like this water is choking you down, and you are currently and technically drowning inside of this water. Albeit, I think with your constitution is a +1. I think you have like over a minute that you can kind of fight here.
I actually have a +2.
Oh, +2? Word. I gotta change that.
Yeah, cause yeah, from when we got to level 10.
Yeah, I haven't checked my cheat sheet. My cheat sheet works perfectly fine, and most of the time I'm perfectly happy to let it be wrong because most of the time it's purely for me to have like an idea. So when you're pulled into the water by this, like what seemed to be for a moment a harmless splash, what are you thinking? Like in this first moment, you can't breathe while you're under here. You can feel the water like clenching down and crushing down upon you.
Yeah, first thought is trying to get away. Like I wanna break the grapple and try to get away.
Gotcha. Do you have inspiration right now?
No, I don't. I have used it.
Gotcha. You are going to be disadvantaged here, but you can make a strength athletics.
That is so sad to see in a disadvantage and nat 20.
You feel for a moment as if you've gained enough to get away from it, and are like dragged right back down with like this littlest bit of hope, giving you a sense of freedom, before you're just kind of like tugged back down. As far as things go for you, Kyrinos, you're basically going to watch him kind of like move away, and then you hear a splash. Maybe realistically, here's a better way to say it. You hear, like, as he's kind of moving away, you kind of hear splashing from within. Um, and then let me get a perception check from you here. Yeah, I would say it goes from like splashing, almost like a jug of liquid moving and kind of getting like jostled, to like the splash of a body falling into water. I'm gonna take your action to let you know that your friend is in danger. You could still yell to send in like Zeros at present to try to help. You could yell to send in Quinn at present to help. You could move in if you wanted to, but for right now, I'm going to say your action is spent finding out that Terran is in danger.
Gotcha. And this is like one by one, right? This only can fit one person. So I think he would
Yeah,
move. Oh, sorry.
if you go in there, you're pretty much blocking the person behind, and you don't necessarily know what you're going into. So it's got to be that choice of whoever goes next is the first person to help Terran. And this is where I would say, did we have Quinn remove her armor?
Yeah, she should have if she wanted to go through the other tunnel.
Gotcha. So Quinn can be unarmored, and essentially all of you are moving through. Yeah, I think squeezing. No, all of you can move through. It's not difficult terrain. Quinn would be difficult terrain with her armor on.
Yes, I think Kyrinos will. He will move towards it. As he hears the kind of the splashing, he'll look back towards well, Quinn's the, if he fell in, Quinn's the bigger, can probably pull him out more easily than Zeros can. So he's gonna shout to Quinn like, something's wrong. Go and get him.
Gotcha. So essentially, at that point, you'll hold off with Zeros. You've let Quinn know. So Terran, at the end of your turn, you'll be able to send Quinn in there, and have her assist you. But that's kind of where we'll like. If you guys look right now, I should have it all kind of revealed for you in the top right of the map right now. But I think I moved to its turn. I think it already attacked you, and it should hit with a 19. I don't even know why it needs to hit you again, because it does the same thing. It's just going to constrict you again, and do 3d6. 16 more bludgeoning to you here. Same idea. This thing is technically still invisible to you. On your turn, you're back to that same choice. You can try to free yourself at disadvantage, or try to attack this thing at disadvantage. My apologies. You can try to free yourself at disadvantage, or you can try to attack this thing at disadvantage.
Well, after first try of not getting out, he would probably attack it. Just
Gotcha. For what it is worth, like part of what I was getting at is you were 1 off of the DC to free yourself. You need a 13 to get free.
that's amazing. But yeah, he would probably like after trying to free himself, try to attack it instead.
Gotcha. So with that, you can actually do both attacks. you cannot get a sneak attack while you are disadvantaged. First attack is successful, second attack is successful, dealing 10, 14 damage. And this is one of those things, you're like slashing around through this water, but there's like points where like the resistance kind of increases. And that's where you really gain a sense of like, there's something in here to attack. You just can't see it.
Then yeah, that don't think I can do anything with my no. So that would be Quinn's turn then.
Can your cunning action do dodge? No, that's monks who can do it, I think.
Yeah, they have that use a key point for a dodge.
So Quinn can move into this space. I think for what it is worth, she knows you are in danger. It's kind of that level of she's like rushing up to this and you're like pulled down to the bottom of a thing of wine. This is one of those things I have to ask you, like, when, like, to role play this, to decide how she's gonna act. She knows you're in danger. When she like looks down into this wine, there's nothing to be seen. Maybe the light of your rings is still activated, that she can see somewhere down there you're fighting something, slashing about, but you're down inside of a vat, like 15 or so feet away. Is she gonna like jump in there, like stabbing the sword down through the wine? What do you think she's doing?
I'm thinking she's waiting at the moment. She's not jumping in at least.
Gotcha. So kind of like holding your reaction to see if she sees something.
Yeah, basically, because she doesn't want to. I think how to say this, like she doesn't want to put herself in danger for someone else. That's the correct way to say that. She like if she can do it from a safe space, she'll do it. But yeah.
Alrighty. I feel like I messed up the order at some point here. Oh, it was because I started the turn, but I skipped over on Kyranos. So after Quinn, it is this creature again. And this is going to be, I think it's just trying to drown you. So it's going to do the same thing where it's going to try to continue to bring you down. Yep. And it's going to do another 11 points of bludgeoning damage to you. And then it is going to go to Kyranos. Quinn has entered. She's gone through the tunnel. What would you like to do?
Oh, sick. Okay, so Kyranos knows he's in trouble, but has he actually heard any sounds that would indicate Terran is fighting something?
You have heard nothing but like loud splashing, basically. This is one of those things where I feel like a lot of us know like the sound of like somebody trying to like drown somebody because we've watched like horror movies and stuff. You've like seen those scenes where somebody's dragging somebody to the bottom of a pool or something, but like that's what you're hearing is just these like torrential splashes. But there's nothing, like even Quinn like watching this, there's massive amounts of wine like splashing up out of this thing. You can see Terran slashing through it, but all you guys hear from outside and maybe see some water like dribbling down this like chute, but all you hear outside is just like Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Okay, so Kyranos is going to he's going to start shouting like, "Come on, Taryn!" Supposed to be trying to say something inspirational, and hoping Taryn can hear him, trying to give him bardic inspiration.
Does bardic inspiration say a creature that can hear you?
Yes, within 60 feet that can hear you.
But it doesn't have to understand you. Does cutting words say a creature that can understand you?
Uh,
Oh wait, do you have cutting words yet at that level?
I do. That one I have to be able to see.
Yeah, but I want to know the actual, like, does it actually say you have to see it, but does it have to understand you?
Oh, no, it says as a reaction when a creature you can see within 60 feet, blah, blah, blah.
All right, so my point is I think Taryn can probably hear you. He just probably can't understand you. Because when you're inside of a pool, if you like look out at your, friend, or like I remember as a kid, like basically like sitting at the bottom of a pool, I could see my parents outside of it. I could hear them saying something, but it's always like it's the oh man,
Oh, like the
Snoopy.
Peanuts. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Peanuts, yeah. Where it's like what you they can't understand you, but I think that fits. So you can inspire Taryn. Your die is currently a D6 inspiration.
Yes, 1d6.
Do you feel any need to run in there other than that? Do you feel any need to send Zeros in?
I think Kyranos is going to move in. He wants to leave Quinn a little room, so he's not going to go all the way up. He's going to go maybe in here. Zeros, I think, to try and get a better sense of what's going on, he's actually going to try and cast Detect Thoughts to see if he can sense if there's anybody other than his companions here. Like, he's not sure, did Taryn just like fall in and is kind of like panicking and splashing about? Is there, so he's going to try and, if he can, like cast Detect Thoughts and just kind of like try and sense if there's anything else here.
What is that? Distance wise, detect thoughts is, I don't see a distance real quick.
I think it's 30 feet.
Okay, 30 feet of you, and you have to be able to see it. You can see.
Well, that's for if you want to try and like get
That's
into
to
the
go
thoughts of
deeper.
something. Yeah, this is more like throwing it out there, trying to sense like within 30 feet, is there any like intelligent creatures?
Gotcha. So when you cast Detect Thoughts, I see no reason why you wouldn't recognize 3 of the 5 consciousnesses that you sense are friends of yours. You sense Kyranos, you sense Quinn, and you sense Taryn. But you also sense another creature right next to Taryn that is. Ooh, does it give you the nature of the creature? At that first level, what do you gain? Just like the sense that something's there?
I just copy pasted the part of the spell.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the spell. I'm just trying to think if you, while I'm looking it over, if you have any other to add.
Unless I can get anything
Surface,
from its surface thoughts about what it is, but unless it's thinking about what it
but
is.
isn't that already focused on the creature that you can see? I feel like when you're using it generically, like that's just like to zone what's near you, you're just like sensing that there are 5 other consciousnesses than yours, 3 of them that you recognize.
Well,
I feel
so
like you
what?
would need to see those other 2 to be able to get surface thoughts.
Well, no. So once I use like the essentially like almost like the sonar way of detect thoughts, and then it says once you detect the presence of a creature in this way, you can read its thoughts for the rest of the duration of the spell, even if you can't see it, as long as it's within range.
Oh, the first line says that you can't see. Yeah, that's the first line is where you can detect something that you can't see.
Yeah, and then after that it says once you detect it in that way, you can read its thoughts, even if you can't see it. It's like the very end of the spell.
Okay. So yeah, you can sense that there's one creature near Terran, and then there is another creature that is probably about like 20 or 30 feet east of Terran. When you delve into the surface thoughts of the creature that is near Terran, I think it's going to be entirely foreign to you, what you sense. Let me get an Arcana check from Zeros. I would say basically give me a d20, and let's say he's proficient in Arcana. You can have a plus, what is that, 8 at this point?
Well, whoever.
Well, you can have inspiration.
All right. I might give that to Terran, actually.
Did you already have inspiration?
Oh, no, I don't.
So I think the caveat there is you can give it to Terran, but he has to use it on his next thing. It's more that you get inspiration when he goes to try to break free here. You can give him the advantage of inspiration to break free.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah,
You know what I mean? But right now you have the inspiration. If you guys can kind of plan it however you'd like, but Chris, you get to choose after this, basically. It's actually on your turn now. You get to choose here, Chris. You've got both forms. He'll give you inspiration. Do you want to attack or do you want to try to break free? If you break free, you've got advantage on that, and then you also have a d6 that you can use if you fail to try to make that a success.
And is it possible, like, would it be too much for Kieran or for Zeros, like, to try and essentially shout to, like, tell, like, Quinn and the others, like, there's something else, there's something in the, I don't know, water or wine, I guess. He will.
Oh no, 100%. You can definitely yell out that there is a creature inside of that with him.
Yeah, so he would be shouting that to try to alert Quinn and Zeros.
So what are you thinking, Chris? Do you want to attack or do you want to try to break free?
I'm gonna try to break free with inspiration and bardic inspiration.
Gotcha. So your first roll is just going to be a straight roll. You have advantage and disadvantage here. And then Justin, get rid of your inspiration, please. I think I said 13 was the DC, so you can use your bardic inspiration when you fail, and you will automatically succeed because it's a 13. So you can break yourself free. You're then free with full movement. You can hop out of that, and basically, I mean, you probably want to also warn Quinn, but you can move past all of the other people at whatever speed you would like because they don't hinder you.
Yeah, Terran is gonna go at full speed basically to get out, but he is gonna warn the others like, get away from the edge. It's gonna try to drag you in.
So yeah, he can run out of there having broken free. It will go to Quinn. Do you want to have her like leap in and try to fight this thing? Are you gonna have her try to like she can start to move out and basically like with difficult terrain drag Kyranos out with her, or she can difficult terrain move over Kyranos and just make her own escape? What do you want her to do?
And she would difficult terrain just make her own escape. That's how far can she get?
It's only difficult terrain over him. So yeah, I'd say it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yeah, she's kind of going to pop out like right next to Zeros. Yeah, that's good. think the water's going to go calm. And you kind of don't hear any splashing at present. Kyranos, you might start to wonder, is Aaron crazy? Something weird just happened? Did he just fall in and maybe he can't swim? But it's going to go to you, Kyranos. What would you like to do?
Yeah, so I think he probably might have been thinking that, but given Zeros' warning, and I guess he might have seen like as Taryn was moving past that obviously like he's not just looking like bedraggled, but like maybe something's been beating on him a little bit. He's going to he might like kind of give a glance like uncertainly, but I think he is going to start to move back to rejoin the others because he wants to talk to Taryn and like what happened.
Gotcha. And I feel like this is about to be a good time for us to end this here. Can Zeros cast detect thoughts at will?
3 times per day. Yes. Otherwise,
But he
so not at.
technically has it going because right now he's at least concentrating on it.
Yeah. I forget how long that actually lasts.
So, with the understanding that, like, Taryn can kind of share with you that there was a vat of wine in that area, 3 of you understand that there's no other place that one leads to, unlike the one that you've gone to. Zeros can walk around this room and basically sense that there are 3 other creatures in this area. With a little bit of delving, he can come to recognize that the part of why he doesn't recognize their form of consciousness is because these creatures are water incarnate. These are elementals. In 3 of these vats, they have water elementals, basically, from his understanding. So it's one of those things to kind of recognize there's living liquid inside of the northern 2 vats and then the southeastern vat.
Okay.
And I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to say that's because I feel like it would be really easy to forget that he just cast detect thoughts. That's part of why I wanted to cover that before we actually end things. But I feel like that's a solid place to kind of end it. I did look up drowning because it's hilarious how infrequently suffocating comes to, but it's a minute plus your constitution modifier in minutes. So Taryn can be underwater for 3 minutes. I'm like, this thing's gotta kill him if he can't get out of there in 3 minutes. But we can pick up if you guys decide to like explore some of these other ones next week. But we'll pick up inside of this room to allow you guys to make these decisions on how you want to go about this. But you do have at least some sense of sort of the dangers that this room possesses at this point. Taryn knows like that is probably like 15 or 20 feet deep, almost like 3 or 4 times his height. Or no, 4 or 5 times his height, basically, as he was dragged down to the bottom of it. And yeah, there's dangerous creatures in there as well. But yeah, I feel like that covers pretty solid um, exploration of this tomb after getting out of the false tomb.
Yeah, yeah, this one is also kind of on an incline, right? So he was climbing up towards the vat, or is it more?
I feel like the climb is like my addition because it doesn't make sense to me that there wouldn't be something that inclines that once these vats start releasing the wine, that it should have somewhere to go. But yeah, I think the idea of like an incline, like that the vats kind of sit, say, like 15 or 20 feet taller than the room, Makes sense. And then the gargoyles are like 5 or so feet off the ground. So they're much lower and the vats are much higher.
Right. Okay. So yeah, so it wouldn't have to be a steep incline. Gravity would do most of it. But yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I was just trying to add something that kind of added the idea that like something clicks and the wine is going to flow out of these things.